We are.
Hi, can you hear us now?
Yes.
Perfect.
Thank you for telling us.
Thank you, Lauren. We just did roll call, so you didn't miss anything.
Basically, we're all here. Okay, so the first thing up for our Historic Preservation Commission is public comment for anything not on today's agenda. I don't know if there's anyone joining us online, so. Caitlin, you'll have, 4. No, just Lauren and then all of us. Okay, seeing nothing for public comment, we'll move on to our first public hearing item for discussion, which is project number SPRDE 251938, and that's a demolition of an eligible resource located at 2835 Alpenglow Way. So we'll start first by having the staff introduce the project, and then if the applicant chooses, you can give a presentation, and then we'll take public comment and deliberation.
Perfect. I'm just gonna share my screen really quickly for the record so we can have a visual as to what we're discussing. Okay, great. So this is 2835 Alpenglow Way. Oh, I don't want to share that part of my screen. Hold on. Give me one moment. Sorry, detour. Sorry. All right, back to where we started. Hopefully. So again, this is perfect. 2835 Alpenglow Way. This is quite a large parcel, I'll say. It's at one of kind of the curves and the turns going up Alpenglow Way. I would say there's kind of 2 large parcels that turn. The other is owned by ours truly, Bill Latosa, former board president of HRC. So this property kind of complements that area right there at the base of Mount Warner Ski Resort. It was built in 1969. So built before the major gondola was constructed in 1972, 73, prior to kind of the boom of residential, commercial, and mixed-use development at the base of the ski area. I've spoken with the owners. I'm assuming Lauren is an owner, but I spoke with Philip Aki, AKE. And him and I had a really great discussion. I think that this is an eye-opener in terms of our planning process and planning applications. So I'm just going to provide a little context of how this came to my desk prior to diving into why it's important. This came in as a final plat back in 2023, so over 2 years ago. A final plat is required when anybody wants to go in because it's a super large parcel, right? And there's a lot line in the center, so the parcel comprises of 2 lots. And they wanted to eliminate that, or I'm sorry, they wanted to actually subdivide the lot and add a lot line. So they could have room for 2 building envelopes. But with that, because this is zoned multifamily, they would have been required to limit the number of dwelling units total. So this is a duplex, so it's 2 dwelling units. So in order to subdivide and then build another structure on the other parcel, they had to turn this into a single family home. At the time, they were already utilizing it as a single family home. However, when our planning staff through the development review processes final plats, we have to take into account our zoning, right? And dwelling units. And so as a condition of the final plat, and this is not unique to this property, it's something that we do across the board. Our development review planners, so my coworkers, right, put a condition on requiring that this home be demolished or that they utilize it as a single family home. And so as this demolition came up last month, I went back and I looked at my records in terms of how did I review this final plat when it came in? And the owners were not intending to demolish the house at that time, if that makes sense. So it was not identified as a demolition on any of the site plans or future site plans. And they actually stated that they complied by using it as a single family home. Well, fast forward 2 years, plans change, and they've decided to not move forward with that final plat process and to actually demolish the home and build a larger complex. And so that's how this demolition came about. And I'd like to share that just because I would like to explore with Rebecca and our planning team a better approach to sharing the potential or requirement for demolition of a structure in regards to a condition for a final plat. I think the owners were a little confused when they had to come to the public hearing and I said, no, this is important. And they were like, well, but the rest of your staff said we have to demolish the house. And so I think there's a better way internally that we can handle that. So I think that's up for discussion moving forward. And I would like to bring that to our staff and some of our partners to discuss. Similar to many of the structures at the base of the mountain, this does represent, I say post-World War II neighborhood development, even though we're almost to the 70s, right? But it represents really the architecture that we saw in the times of the late 60s and early 70s. You have your floor to ceiling window walls, your pitched roof, your, encompassing outdoor space, and the structure is really, as you can see, situated and built into the slope of the topography, which is something that you have to account for at the base of the mountain. Additionally, in terms of the Mount Warner historic context that we completed way back when, this is indicative of the architecture that we identified as being those that would qualify for being an eligible resource. So I want to keep it kind of simple. The owners have stated that they're open to relocating it. We've discussed the cost that they have determined it would be to demolish the house, and if there is a parcel of land and a receiving owner willing to receive the structure, they are open to that. So I think that that's good, but this is one of those scenarios that poses more questions as we continue doing what we're doing. I've kept it quite simple. Do you guys have any questions?
C1, these two, that's not their property, right? It's just this property.
I guess another thing that I'll mention in terms of demolition is what you see in front of you is what we require for demolishing a structure, whether it's an eligible resource or not. Jane called me earlier and she said, am I correct that this is packet's only 17 pages long? I was like, yes, and the majority of that 7 pages is the asbestos report, right? And so again, as a precursor to our discussion about HPC goals, I think that's something to think about. This is all we require for a demolition.
Is there anything wrong with the structure? Preventing people from living in it, renting it, making money off of it, having shelter?
I'll let the owner speak towards that more, but in my discussions, no, they've actually been utilizing it. It has been lived in, it is lived in. Of course, with any older home, you know, I'm sure some of the rafters are experiencing decay and rotting due to exposure.
Right, but that's not the reason for them to demolish it. Nor is the reason for them, like, can they just add on to it? If they're looking for a larger structure, can they just add on to this one?
Hypothetically, yes, they could have, and I spoke to them about that, but they were under the impression that it could be demolished, so they were gonna demolish it, and they already have architectural plan sets built out and ready to submit. So we're kind of in that place that we are with many demolitions where
Right, right.
Is somebody from Wagner in the room?
you know, I didn't see them, Lauren. I had thought Janie was gonna attend.
There's no one
Yeah.
online other than us.
Yeah. I did send
Okay.
her the Zoom link. But in short, I think what our chair, Katie Adams, is getting to is that any structure can be rehabilitated, right?
So I don't know how much Phil told you about this. I mean, you mentioned it. We did try to do that originally. There is significant drainage problems on this property. That is why we haven't had anybody in the bottom unit for many years now, because it continues to flood. If there is a big snow and then it gets really cold, this is our theory anyway, we don't know if this is the case. It freezes at the level of the foundation, and then when it warms up again really quickly, it melts and the ice blocks the drainage from going out, and so it instead goes under into the house. So it's not, I realize it's not well built in my opinion. It has many
Yeah.
like over the years, like we've owned it for
You know what we're
14
saying
years.
before we get too deep into this,
Mhm.
we missed the step. Granted, I was asking staff questions, but your answers, and you're free to answer, but can you first introduce yourself?
Oh, sorry, yes,
For our
Lauren
record?
Ake. Yeah, I'm one of the owners, Lauren Ake.
Whatever we're hearing, sorry. Can you close that door when you're done? Can you say it one more time? We missed your name.
Oh, Lauren
Full
Ake.
name.
I think it's
Lauren Ake.
on the deed, it's just Lauren. It might be Lauren Armour Ake on the deed.
Okay,
But
no,
I
that's
just go
fine.
by, yeah.
Fine. Every time you said your last name, somebody closed a door or
Oh,
I got it now. Thank you,
Yeah.
Lauren.
yeah,
Do you live
Um,
at the resident?
we don't. It's our second home.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. When we do come up, we stay upstairs. The downstairs has been gutted because that was part of the first phase of hopefully renovating it into a single family home. And then when we went through this round, we discovered that it is like top to bottom asbestos. So that has been now remediated. But
Okay. Do commissioners have any questions for the applicant, Lauren, or staff?
Can I just get clarification, I think from staff, just on the zoning, so staff had told them that they could keep this house in place and then build a secondary structure on the lot as long as they didn't use this as a duplex?
Correct.
Okay, and that, and as the owners, you guys had thought about doing that, but then you changed your mind and decided just to have one home on that lot?
yeah, we went down many avenues of trying to figure out the best way to not lose the house, but as you know, it's very expensive to build anything. And so we considered selling half the lot so that we could then renovate the original structure. We even have plans to renovate it and to include another, to keep it as a duplex and just have a smaller unit down the basement so we could rent it out to a local steamboat person as a long-term rental. We've never planned on doing anything short-term. In fact, we can't anymore. We never applied for the permit because we didn't want to do that. And now I think we've been grandfathered out. So anyway, and then we started the process and just kept hitting problem after problem after problem. And finally just decided after all of that time and money that we spent to do all that, to kind of throw in the towel on the attempts to salvage any of it and move forward with designing something new.
Thank you.
Mhm.
May I add something?
Yes.
In regards to drainage issues, I mean, again, it's a sloping lot. And so anything that you build, new construction on a sloping lot, for the record, you're gonna have to accommodate for drainage issues.
Yeah, it needs to be addressed at the very beginning instead of sort of band-aiding it through this structure that exists now. So I just think back then when it was built, it just wasn't something that they either didn't know engineering wise that they needed to do, or that, it wasn't available for whatever reason. And it didn't even start until, we've owned the property since 2012. So we didn't even have a problem with it until probably 2020-ish. So, for the first 8 years, it never was a problem. So it's just how the weather and stuff is changing.
Yeah. Do they store snow uphill from you? Is there a large street snow storage near uphill?
No, I don't think so.
I know in that neighborhood, there's like the snow storage, if you don't put it just right,
No.
it's just flooding everybody's basement. So I just wondered if that was your case too. It's too bad. It's happening to all your neighbors too.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Yeah. With the size of the driveway, well, because of the way that the lot faces, like the snow that falls behind the house, which is where it ends up going in, it doesn't melt until like June. Because of just the way that the light hits the property and the fact that obviously that the residence is blocking it from getting any sun. But yeah, so Ian has designed a new place to sit differently on the lot to help with that, and obviously has taken great consideration into the drainage needs of the property itself.
Any other questions or comments from commissioners about this site? Caitlin, have you talked to the owners about documentation prior to demolition?
Thank you. I think that we should make it standard to add a condition.
Yeah.
Maybe we could talk about that as a goal for staff.
Okay. Okay, well, we'll put it in our motion tonight then. But it's silly because we're all in here and there's no one online. But is there anyone here who would like to add public comment to this? I think we're still at 4. Okay, great. In that case, we can, if commissioners don't have any other questions or concerns, we can find the motion and talk about it that way. Would you like to add anything before we go down that next step?
Yeah, in terms of adding a condition for documentation,
Yeah.
I would just suggest to be specific for the applicant
We don't know what there is to look at though.
in terms of what level of, well, I guess I mean like, do we want to know square footage, placement, measurements, photographs, interior floor plan?
I'm gonna look at you, Katie.
We're just gonna look at you. We've already done this.
I know, we have, prior to Caitlin joining the commission, as a staff person,
Mhm.
there was a commissioner who was really into this, and she created an entire worksheet or whatever you might call it, like a,
Yeah, a form, maybe. There we go.
guidelines. But it was more than guidelines. It was it's something you kind of fill in.
Yeah.
And she had recently gotten her degree in historic. I can't remember her name. She was a young person. She wasn't on the commission that long. I'm like, it exists. We have that. What's that?
I found them.
Okay.
Hey.
I'm like, it exists. Like, we
know.
worked on it. Okay. I don't know what we called it.
A documentation guideline.
Oh, well, that makes.
Oh, you're right in the guidelines, you're right in the guidelines.
I just know it was.
Thanks for being with us, Lauren.
I just know it was more than, it was like, it was specific.
Would you like me to share my screen for a minute?
Yeah, and we don't have to make a huge deal of this or like make it official now, but
However, with a condition added after the fact, as not presented to the public when the staff report was posted. We do need acceptance of the condition from the applicant. and
Okay.
owner.
Can we ask Lauren a quick question?
Yeah.
Lauren, you said the basement has been completely demolished. How's the main level?
No, well, they had to get all the asbestos out, and I have not been there since they've done that because we've turned all the utilities off. I was planning on coming to this meeting and being there, but then I had this stupid eye surgery that I had. So, yeah, I don't know what the inside looks like at this point.
In speaking with, is Philip your husband?
Yes.
In speaking with Philip, he basically said, so they received their asbestos report. And then they moved forward with asbestos remediation.
Mhm.
And so that doesn't necessarily require a building permit because it's not considered a full demolition. You're removing interior portions. So while I haven't seen the interior and speaking with Philip, it sounds like most of the interior has been removed. Maybe not the walls, right? But that's the,
It was in the walls, so,
Yeah.
or at least it was in the sheetrock, so however much they had to do to get, oh, I mean, you mean like the walls separating the rooms?
yeah.
The studs are still there, I'm sure,
The studs are still there, I'm sure, yeah.
but it's in the mud. We had a house with it.
So
Yeah.
as far as getting anything that was in the house to make it historic, those things are gone.
Well, we
We
don't,
don't do things.
yeah.
Yeah.
Technically,
We did, I was gonna say, if there was a big, there's a stove that, and again, like, I don't know what was original to the house. The downstairs was remodeled before we moved into it. It was probably done in like the 90s. It had a lot of honey gold, oak. So I don't think anything down there was original. The upstairs was probably redone in the 80s as far as the kitchen goes. But the stove, so I don't know when this, like the heating element stove was put in there, but we did keep that. And, a couple of other small things.
So I
Oh.
think in terms of documentation, to your point, Molly, what we would look for is the layout of the interior. And then of course the exterior. And so here are the documentation guidelines that were previously developed by a former HPC member. So it's so if we added a condition requiring documentation, we would put that as a date certain, Lauren. And we would say prior to demolition, that we would ask that you provide a sketch map of the property that includes the boundary, roads, alleys, streetscape information, the basic footprint, dimensions. And my guess is if you were already working with an architect to potentially rehabilitate this structure, they already have all of this information.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I bet, I mean, we at least have yeah, I'll ask, it was a different company that we used the first time, but I can still reach out to them.
Okay, that would be great. And then just current photographs of each elevation. So that's, north, south, west, east. And I'm also happy to meet with someone on site and take photographs if that's helpful.
Okay, I can have Ian go over there and do that, so that's not a big deal.
So in terms of the condition, I think quite simply, you could say follow the demolition documentation guidelines.
Can you send those guidelines to Lauren?
Yes, we can send them to that.
Yeah, just send him to whatever contact you have for Phil and he can look through it and get what you guys need.
Great.
I mean, I have 7 million photos of the inside if you, I mean, they might have my kids in them, but I mean, we've been there for 12 years, so, you know, more than that, 14 years. So I don't know if that's beneficial in any way.
I think it's helpful, actually, just in terms of how space is allocated, even though we don't look at the interior
Mhm.
or have any like regulatory authority. You know,
Documentation wise, it's nice.
documentation wise, it's very nice. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'll find some that, you know, probably, I don't think I have any of the bedrooms because they're, you know, nothing that exciting in those, but like of the main living area and the kitchen. I definitely have some I can try to crop my kids off.
And put a sticker over their face or something.
I put a sticker over their face, yeah.
Okay. Is everyone in agreement to the condition of approval and the way Caitlin said it, using the demolition documentation guidelines? Okay. So I think we would just read the condition as to follow the demolition documentation guidelines provided by staff prior to demolition.
And something I might want to add to the demo documentation guidelines that I don't think is in here. Is to provide a concept or provide the architectural plans of what's replacing what's being demolished. I think that's important to tie to the demolition. And Philip's already done that, so.
Bits. Okay, any other thoughts on this? About what it means for our historic record or the neighborhood?
We might have to.
No. To me, it's, you know, it's just like all of them. We don't want to see something that's been identified as eligible and providing historic context to our community removed. And I think that I agree with Caitlin that the final plat miscommunication or simple layout of city process is confusing, but I don't think in any way that added to or placated the applicant's ultimate decision in demolishing this. So you know, I'm not the applicant nor the architect, but it seems to me that this structure could be saved. But it is our city process that's allowing it to be demolished, which is exactly how our code reads. So it will likely be let's say approved for demolition, even though we do not approve the demolition of an eligible resource. And then if the motion goes through, it does instill a 30-day hold on the demolition. And that purpose, Lauren, is for you to continue communicating with city staff about recommendations for saving the structure or even moving it, but that doesn't seem very likely in this case. That's what the 30 days for.
Okay.
And maybe I'll add that it also gives you time to do documentation, although it looks like it's pre-existing.
Good.
And I'll just add, the owners, I mean, when I spoke with your husband, Lauren, he did say, he was like, oh my gosh, my wife would just love it if we could save this structure and relocate it. She's really into sustainability and she would be really happy with me.
Yes. I do not want it to go in the landfill either. Trust me. It's taken a while to get to this place for me personally. So for both, you know, historic and environmental reasons that we tried really hard to salvage it, but just from a cost perspective, it just wasn't going to be possible for us. So.
Okay.
In that case, I would recommend, I would entertain a recommended motion if anyone wants to read it and have the commission.
Did you take really good notes?
Well, you can just read, I don't know if you can read my writing.
I'll try.
I started to write it all out and then we just sent it.
Perfect. This is Commissioner Capra. I'd like to submit a motion reads as this. Historic Preservation Commission approves SPRDE 251938, a demolition of an eligible resource at 2835 Alpenglow Way. And the demolition, okay, where do I stick that in? With the condition that the applicant and owner follow the demolition documentation guidelines to be provided by the city staff. And that the demolition permit shall only be issued, it says only be issued. I'll say shall be issued 30 days following February 9th, 2026. Did that flow? Okay.
Yeah. Any discussion on the motion from commissioners? Okay, in that case, we'll go around and vote all in favor of the motion and say aye. 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 Nope. Okay. So that motion is approved unanimously. And it will go into effect February or starts today. Your 30 days starts. So thank you for coming in front of us and good luck with your project.
Yep, thanks so much.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Lauren. I will
Alrighty.
email Bill the demo documentation guidelines and then we can continue to have the conversation regarding potential moving or relocation of the structure. We did speak about, your estimate for demolition and that also didn't include the cost of removal for construction and demolition debris removal. So it could be likely that putting that cost to help relocate the structure may assist in saving the structure. So we will be in touch.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right, that was our only public hearing item tonight. We also have some goals to talk about. And Caitlin, I don't know what else you have.
So I suppose this falls under our staff report section. I will just report that the city council unanimously approved the development plan for the Marshall House.
Great.
This past Tuesday. So that's pretty exciting. Let me pull up, so just a quick recap of goal setting. We just finished our historic preservation plan. We also finished the engagement strategy. As a reminder, the engagement strategy was a precursor to the historic preservation plan. So there is already a singular goal in the historic preservation plan with recommendations that directly pull from the engagement strategy. So I'd like to just pull up those goals and recommendations that are within the preservation plan. Because I think it's important that we look at all of those together really quickly, rather than just looking at those in the education and engagement strategy. Give me one moment. And if you remember this, the recommendations from the preservation plan are pretty detailed and there are a lot of them. I have my ideas in terms of priority. But I think those are mostly from like a code change or policy change standpoint. And as we know, preservation is bigger than code and policy, so. Let me share my screen real quick. I'll see this. I also have the education and engagement strategy up in case we want to reference some of those recommendations in the plan and dive deeper. I don't think that we need to spend tons and tons of time on this because you have all already reviewed and contributed to these goals and recommendations. And if it's something that we want to sit on for the next month and then formally adopt next month, we can do that, and I'll leave that up to our chair.
Oh,
Sorry, Katie. And if you do view this document online, table of contents is on page 5, and it's interactive. So goal 1, amplify the historic character of Steamboat Springs through the identification and protection of significant historic and cultural resources. So in simplified terms, this is why I love planning documents. I'm like, there's a whole sentence and it could really be 2 words, right? This is survey and identification, right? So completing surveys. At the end of last year, I did contract out again with Logan Simpson, so Mariah and John Southard, and then Amanda Peters to start a reconnaissance level survey of Riverside neighborhood and Fairview neighborhood. And they are complete with that. So we have baseline short form documentation of what I identified as being potentially eligible. So it's about 88 resources in total. And they did complete the state approved short form documentation on that. We contracted out to have them resurvey our downtown historic district. Many of those buildings that were contributing have changed, may not be contributing anymore. And many of the buildings were not contributing when originally put on the National Register as a historic district and could be contributing. And so they've also completed that initial work. So that's what we did to kind of wrap up surveys at the end of last year. I did receive funding to do a cash match for another survey grant. And the goal was to potentially do some more detailed surveys. So like the architectural inventory forms that we review for select resources in Fairview and Riverside. And then extend the survey into neighborhoods with similar architectural styles, which in my mind, chime in here, would be upper Fish Creek Falls and lower Fish Creek Falls and the Tamarack area. So that's kind of the area outside of the survey map that we completed for the Mount Warner survey. So we kind of had a hard stop and didn't survey west of that boundary. One thing that has been on my mind is how we survey. And sometimes I don't feel good just being like, oh, I have a pot of money at the end of the year and I need to spend it. Let's go survey this and let's survey that. There is a state grant. It is non-competitive. So that means I can apply for it any time of year. It gets up to $20,000 to complete a survey plan, which it's a planning document. So you're planning to plan. But I thought, Steamboat Springs, we've been really good about our surveys. We have them available for the public. we do the full architectural inventory forms. But would it make sense to do a survey plan to document what we want to survey and why? Because other areas for survey could potentially be the mountain, like the mountain itself, in terms of surveying what is gone and what's lost, which I could find to be a really good educational effort with the public. And then also completing additional survey information with our indigenous youths. And so would it make sense to apply for a survey plan in addition to applying for funds to complete the survey work done at the end of this year, at the end of last year? So that's an update on what has been done towards this goal and what we could prioritize towards this goal. There's only 5 goals, by the way, so we're almost done.
Technically, it's page 76.
In your PDF viewer, it should be page 76. But officially it's page 6.
I know. And that much.
That was so confusing when doing edits for this document.
Do you have someone to, I know you already have a really heavy workload. Do you have a means if we were to go after that grant? Do you have time to do that, or do you have a person you can delegate that to?
We would contract that. And so I would only be responsible for the grant reporting, the grant writing and the grant reporting, and then the consultant management. And I've been pretty impressed with. I mean, we wouldn't need an RFP or anything to contract that out because it's under a certain dollar threshold. But I have been impressed with how Mariah and Amanda completed those surveys here, that initial survey work. And their ability to be efficient, but also like comprehensive.
Well, I definitely think, we know we have to do, that was one of the things when you and our previous consultant were driving around, there were the lines that you didn't go beyond, and we came up against how that's not ideal. We do need to get the whole town under survey. So I like your idea of the indigenous and I like the idea of the mountain, but we need the rest of the buildings, so I think that's the Tamarack area makes a lot of sense as a no-brainer if you can get that grant and get people started on laying out how we would move forward. That's my opinion.
Is that grant limited to survey work? Or is it more open-ended than that?
There's different categories you can apply for. So it depends on if you're doing a micro grant, a non-competitive grant, a competitive grant. But why? What's
No, I am not opposed to more extensive survey. Just think that if we had limited funds and resources, human resources, I would focus on how we can proactively maintain the downtown and Old Town neighborhoods. Because now the Lorenz building and Conoco are at risk. And so, and the fact that I'm not criticizing HPC per se, or even you, right? Like this is a bigger, higher level thing that goes on that I don't have any purview to. And we all know we show up in the process where the city places us. But that means we are kind of behind in this process instead of proactively saying, I with the Lorenz building being up for sale for like 2.5 and some change, it's gonna go, especially with Conoco. It's just that's just screaming for massive redevelopment. And as much as something like the Lorenz building isn't really much to look at, and the owner have the right to sell it how they want. It's obviously it's priced for demolition. And so that's where, and I have no solution here because the little tiny space I occupy, I do not understand how these things happen. But it's why I'm not giving you pushback on surveying. I'm just saying from my point of view, we're not focusing on what really matters in terms of preservation in this town.
Okay, so I'm gonna add to that real quick. We're only on goal one, which is happens to be surveying. I think the reason why it's goal one is because before we can actively preserve something, right, or rehabilitate something, we need to know what we have. And so I agree with you that also focusing on downtown and Old Town is important. And that's why we did look at reevaluating the historic district, and so hopefully that work would continue. And it would basically update our National Historic District in terms of period of significance and then the boundaries and which buildings are contributing.
Listening while I'm
No, you're fine.
pulling something up, yeah.
And then, that is also something that, and I'm glad you brought that up, Marianne, for consideration. Our consultants, with Logan Simpson, Mariah specifically, has kind of, she was pushing to survey more of Old Town, residential Old Town. And I kind of had her hold off, I mean, for this discussion and our goal setting, but also because we do have a lot of surveys for Old Town. But with that, we are missing a lot. Like sometimes I'll go and I'll look in our survey list for residential Old Town and I'm like, why did we just choose, why did we choose to survey
Miss things
half of the block?
over and over, and they're like critical things repeatedly, or that's
Not
that.
eligible and we can't figure out why that would be.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So this is, and this is my second to last meeting after 7 years, so I feel a little bit at liberty to just say it how I see it.
That's fine.
Yeah. Again, survey the entire city limit, have at it. But in the meantime, from a historic perspective, from my perspective, we're losing the things that actually matter. And good luck. You know, I mean,
We'll get to how we can hopefully help the loss of our resources.
because
Right,
like
and then some of the next goals.
Conoco aren't the first, I mean, how many years over and over? Yeah.
So it sounds like there is support to prioritize surveying for 2026, and we also have funding for it.
Well, I would just like to chime back in on with the available human resources element of it, like so long as that doesn't interfere with. I wouldn't say that's the highest priority. I think is what we're saying. We would like to really start saving some actual buildings. And yeah, if we need to survey some things in our spare time, fine. But I wouldn't say that's the top priority, I guess is what I'm getting at. So
Okay.
if something has to drop,
Can I just say something real quick, please? We've already committed to continuing our survey.
Yeah.
Also, because surveying every 2 years is a requirement to keep up with our CLG. So I understand it might not be the top priority, but it's a legal requirement for us. So we do have to continue surveying. So I think what I'm asking is where?
Yeah, so then I would say, because, I'm looking at page 19 on the 2025 Historic Preservation Plan. There's a section listed as Downtown Plan 2019. It has an aspirational statement, and then it lists preserve and protect the existing historic structures in downtown. So, I'm not you. You spend a lot of time professionally trying to figure this out. I can only say, if I were to spend my survey dollars, I would survey every single thing in the downtown area, which is Yampa, Lincoln, and Oak in my mind, and as much of Old Town as you can. And I realize in the meantime, we could lose things further out from that footprint. But
Right.
That's just my opinion, and I don't have an opinion in.
I agree. No, so I think that's a great point. I
Okay,
agree.
so I'm gonna contextualize that as prioritizing kind of the redetermination for a National Historic District. So that's Lincoln Avenue. It's also looking at Yampa, and it's also looking at Oak Street.
I mean, when you contain the language to the National Historic District, intellectually understand what you're saying. It's just that that is your very confusing footprint. And
Yeah,
It-
jogs around.
Yeah, and I don't feel confident because no matter how hard I've tried and how much signage they put up, that I even understand what's in the National Historic District and what's not.
Oh, sure.
And so that's where
We have to start somewhere,
yeah,
right?
I just don't wanna get limited by that language.
We're not limiting ourselves, but we do have to prioritize and we do have to put a name to something.
Well,
So boundary wise, I think what you're saying is they're, well,
Third to 13th,
yeah.
Yampa, Lincoln, Oak, including the National Historic District, which exists, but is very hard to figure out what's in and what's out.
Right, and let's
Like is the little
remind ourselves,
Anyone know? Don't know.
it's contributing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's
that's good.
remind ourselves that this is, it's a National Historic District. Right now, we have an opportunity to update that, look at significance, look at other buildings. At the end of the day, that doesn't get to Mary Ann's point of like, let's save the buildings, because just because it's on the national, it's contributing to a national register district. Doesn't mean it's protected from demolition, so. We have a yes on Tamarack and Fish Creek Falls in terms of extending residential. And a yes on downtown. For survey work for 2026.
Sure. Those are the big places we haven't hit at all, so we should do that. And we already are working on the downtown district, you said.
I mean, again, I think I have a low priority opinion at this point, because I'm not gonna be a voting member soon, but I would forego Tamarack.
It's for a staff person, it's really hard for me to do my job because. If you look at the number of buildings that were built after 1976 that are still around. That we don't have surveyed or documented, it's 80% of what comes across my computer screen.
We're using up your time for you to determine eligibility when we could just do a survey and move on with our goals. So you're caught up doing eligibility property by property for each incoming meeting, when we could have that information already provided in the survey so that you can do your actual job.
And listen, that's a great explanation. It's so reasonable. However, there's kind of an optics thing. And I think I can't speak for the whole town, but when we lose properties in what we call Old Town, which does not include Tamarack, have we surveyed every property in the Old Town? Have we surveyed everything in the downtown area?
No, but it's not just in terms of individual structures. When you're looking at an area, you're looking at like character defining features holistically, right? And I would say we've surveyed enough in downtown and Old Town to know what our important architectural characteristics are. And to also know some of the important names and social aspects behind those structures. And to Katie's point of like, when it comes across my desk and I'm spending there, I have like 72 hours to determine is this eligible or not. That's why I'm not a big supporter from a staff perspective in terms of let's spend money to resurvey what's already been surveyed and redetermine that it says not eligible on this sheet. Now let's pay someone to tell us it is eligible. I can easily do that. That's the easy work.
It's when it's just never.
It's when it's non-existent, where it takes more time for me.
I mean, that's a compelling argument, just so you know, having gone through the mountain area survey with all of you, like what you're describing absolutely became clear to me through that process. I guess I like, why don't we have every building on Yampa, Lincoln, and Oak currently surveyed?
I couldn't tell you because I wasn't here when they made those decisions.
Fair enough, and I think that's true. None of us know. None of us know.
Well, and I will say in short, I think it is dependent, so this concept of preservation is an evolving field. I gave the presentation I gave this morning, I was telling y'all about.
Yeah.
This guy stopped me afterwards and he had some really great questions, like about color, and he was like, I am working with this couple and they're like your prime example of people. He was like, why do preservationists just want to embalm everything? And I was like, that's a really great way to say that, you know?
Yeah.
And that is kind of the old school approach to preservation. And I think that when a lot of these surveys were funded, that was their playbook. So if you look here at 11B, strategy 11B, develop an eligibility evaluation chart or checklist. What I've noticed in all of our completed architectural inventory forms is that the eligibility checklist they were working off of in the past was, does this have an addition? Oh, you're not eligible.
Ineligible.
I mean, our land deciding.
Our landscaping culture has changed so
Yeah.
much since when those surveys were done. That now it's rare to find something that hasn't received an addition. So we're looking at things differently now. Is it still standing? But back then it was, well, they added on. And some of them they added on so much we can't tell, but
Which I still would consider not eligible.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I think, sorry to interrupt,
No.
but I think that's what you've spoken to.
So
in the
while
past.
especially from everything being said tonight, I have a great appreciation for why a Tamarack area survey would help, because those are the things that you're seeing more of from what you're saying coming in. That said, I would think from a community perspective, when people go through the visioning documents or they do the city surveys or whatever, they're not so worried about what comes and goes from the 1970s in the Tamarack area. They're worried about what comes and goes in the downtown and Old Town area. And I'm sure there's someone here smarter than me who knows more than I do, but I'm like, how do we solve that survey problem? Even if it's resurveying these things that were deemed non-eligible, but we all know have more value than that with the old way of looking at things. I don't know why that's not the priority, except that you have a good reason. It's because that's not what's coming in front of you all the time.
Well, no, it's also that we already have extensive surveys for downtown and for Old Town. And so that's enough information for me to easily make a decision.
For the bigger picture.
Well, no, and
Like
on a
that.
day-to-day level.
So it's
Yeah.
like using your time
Quite
efficiently,
yeah.
it would help your time load if surveys were done for the 80% of things that are coming across your.
So it's easier for you to say that, but I understand that better. It's just, I just wonder if you are a realtor or a home buyer or someone who's owned their home for a long time, but never saw the survey or their survey got updated. You can tell me, and I know it's true, so much of it has been surveyed. But I've sat here for 7 years and it has done very little to help us because those surveys are either they're not in the hands of the owner, they're not aware of it, or they were deemed not eligible when we think they are, or we missed fundamental buildings for some reason and never got surveyed. I'll stop talking.
I think you bring up all great points, but I think that a lot of that can be covered in our subsequent goals.
Okay.
Like, I agree.
We have a lot of problems, but I think we have the ability to address multiple problems.
That's fine. And maybe we can put higher priority to that, but
Okay.
still, understood. We still have to have surveys because that's how a CLT
Sure.
functions.
I think I'm operating from sort of a scarcity model and not an ability to accomplish a lot of things at once.
Yeah.
And so, great.
Hopefully it's.
And so I think we are positioned from a city leadership standpoint to accomplish some things, and we have the backing and support for that right now.
Great.
One of those things, so we are now doing strategic planning. Yay! At the citywide level. And I've really enjoyed working with our deputy city manager. She's been great, Kelly Romero Heaney. And she was able to get a strategic priority, we'll say, or key outcome to basically enhance community engagement, but also one specific to improving government to government relationships with our tribal and indigenous populations. And so again, that ties back to historic preservation. And so under this goal for strategy 1, 2A, develop a context statement for tribal communities with ties to Steamboat Springs. I do see that as playing into survey work. And so I would like to know if you are all supportive if there's a funding opportunity, meaning we're funding someone else to lead that. To garner funding to work with tribal consultants or with the different Ute tribes. So it's not like I'm putting the other survey work on hold to work on developing a context and working with Ute tribal nations, but we are at a jumping point right now, particularly with the relationships we've built with the sculpture that was installed in Civic Plaza. That if there was an opportunity to pay outside consultants to assist with that work, I would be in support of also doing this because it's only gonna benefit us moving forward.
Doing this being the survey planning document.
It would be like a separate, so
It
like
would be
survey of
something else.
context kind of go hand in hand, but it'd be more like a documenting engagement and context.
More through Kelly's role.
I mean, the funding would come from the State Historic Preservation Office, so
Yeah.
it would be tied to my role, so I would do it with Kelly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. It's never been done before. It's embarrassing. It's time. Especially if there's momentum in someone who has been dedicated to it. Yes. I'm not sure, but you would know more if we really need the plan of the plan, which is silly because I'm a big planner. Like you have to have it documented and you have to have it laid out and that's how you know what to do. Which is why I pushed for the preservation plan for so many years, but I don't know if we really need it, like. It would help to have a schedule for what needs to be surveyed, but I don't think that could, I think you could accomplish that internally.
I second
Then
that.
going and go a non-competitive grant is awesome. I'm not sure. I'm not sure we really need it, because it would be you going through your own files anyways. What have we done?
Well, yeah,
What
and
do we
like,
need to do? Okay,
even like
let's do it.
right here, like enhance a system of survey.
Yeah.
Like conduct a survey every 2 years, like it tells us that already.
Well,
And then we already list the places we want to, so that's what I was also struggling with is like. Why spend the money to document, to plan for something if we can just spend the money to do it?
Right.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, it would be helpful moving forward, like, oh, we know that the Oak Street surveys were last done in 1999. They're due in 29. That's ridiculous to say, but let's just say that, like, but you can keep track of that, I know.
And it's really hard to not be in support of something like that. I just think there's a danger of diluting the stuff I already repeated several times,
That's
but,
fine.
but
So I am going to ask the state staff. Cause remember,
What
while
happens
it's,
if we don't have it?
that, but also, what's your recommendation? Like,
Yeah.
we already know what we need to survey, here's our ideas. It's already in the 2 plans that you all approved and funded.
Right.
Do you think we need this? Or is your term like survey plan kind of a catch-all and could I just use that money to survey something?
Right,
Cause they could say, yeah, sure.
Yeah, or we'll fund your surveys, where's your survey plan? I'm like, dang it.
I don't think that's it, like, it's not a requirement. And so that's why, like, this is a great conversation to have. Cause they may say like, well, we call it a survey plan because many newer communities don't.
They
Don't know.
they're starting from nothing.
Yeah.
Certainly worth asking.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when properties are surveyed and are suddenly on the list, is that when people get a notification that they have an eligible resource? Not necessarily, because that's, I think, the second part of that I think as the public, like my neighbors have a 1905 or whatever, they just got their first letter, I think, and I got one not that long ago for my 1910 house. So, but when we get closer to like, oh my God, my house is now 50 years old kind of thing that people, I just think that would be, if everybody was getting them and when comes up, then maybe it's not such a surprise. Oh my.
We'll see exactly,
Good.
and yeah, so when I started, there's some fine print in our code that says we're required to send a letter out to all eligible resources. Well, how can I do that if we haven't surveyed everything? And if half of our documentation isn't correct? And so the letter that you got is a letter we now send to all owners of property over 50 years of age. And then we explain, you could have an eligible resource. Call if you would like to find out. And then it provides me the opportunity to do the research and find out. Because we don't have documentation or surveys done. So we will be doing that every year.
Do you send that?
Once a year.
Excuse me, what neighborhood do you?
For the last 2 years, Molly, so like it hasn't been happening forever.
Okay, I just like.
Your house must not be 50.
But it was a question, she has a 1910 home and she just got an eligible
Well,
resource.
it's a little,
So
not,
that's why I was
mean,
wondering how often.
maybe the last, since I've been on the commission.
Yeah.
We talked
So-
about it and you said something to me, have you gotten? I said, no, and so, yeah.
Caitlin, do you have the address now on those, the thing as they go out? I have a friend who got 3 of them because he owns multiple properties and he.
I tried to-
He didn't know what was eligible, and what was not eligible. Is there a way for our IT person to just program it so that the code clicks the address in?
So that, I mean, I don't think it's on IT. What we could do is we could do a very extensive mail merge, which would just take hours and hours. But I was thinking about doing that and actually just sending it out to a company
I think
and then having them print it. And so like, it'll say, dear whoever's name is on the assessor record, because that's what's on the Excel spreadsheet. And then we'll say, in regards to your property at Lake, it is over 50 years of age. However, it's not going to tell the property owner if it's eligible or not.
that's okay. I've just heard that over in bar, I think we all hear people rip on HPC. That's
yeah.
part of what we get for being.
That's what
commission.
And it's funny because I did delete, I chatted with Rebecca to like remove duplicates. And so it should have been removed.
Well, but it sounds like
He's
there's multiple, he's got multiple properties, some of which are 50 years old, some of them aren't 50 years old. And he received a couple, but he didn't know which of his buildings.
He still should have only received one, so I removed duplicate owners.
Okay.
Even if they own multiple properties.
Okay. Whatever it was, I may be saying it wrong. I just know that he didn't know which of his properties.
But she said it says for your property at the address of.
Not
No,
yet.
It currently doesn't.
Not
It's
yet.
a kind of a form letter that just says you.
It's been a couple $100, I think.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
But
or a
also
couple $1,000, because I think that's I think a lot of people in towns have multiple properties.
Yeah,
And I think it's Well, important. we kind of talked about this. And this is a thing.
Dude, look it up. Like,
You don't know when your house was built?
Yeah, I do provide the
Here's
assessors,
how you go find out about your.
and I
house.
actually do provide that.
Yeah, but I'm an architect. I look this stuff up all the time, every
Right,
day.
right.
so we're like,
But there's a lot of
trying
people
to
in
give
town
them
who-
enough to empower them to like know about what you own.
Yeah, but that's what this whole, there's
I
a
think
whole
this
branch
is-
of government that does this, so why don't we just put the address on there?
Right.
I understand everybody should.
employee.
But I think that you have a good solution already, but that there's a consultant that does
But
that.
this is and with that, we do have the age of the building, Sally. So would it help if we not only provide you're at 602 Oak Street, it was built in blank. It was built in 1907.
For sure.
It could be an eligible resource you need to call to figure out.
I feel like this is profoundly important, and this, when you said to put something on the list, and this has been what I've been saying since the beginning. But yeah, I think this is putting information into people's hands that's like, you're a 3rd grader. Let me explain to you, because I get that you have 4 kids and 2 jobs and, you're a sick mom. And you don't really want to be chasing down, adding to your list, what year was each of my properties. I mean, I know that sounds silly because obviously all of us do this. But I think if we're gonna send the letter out, just take the extra step and be
Yeah.
like, at this address, and I hadn't thought about that, but Caitlin, I love that.
at this address, this is the year it was built. Here, this is your notification, you know, and I don't think the eligible resource, that's a whole nother, and they won't even know what you're talking about, but I think
They don't.
that's important.
And maybe just say call to find out if it has historic or architectural importance and has to follow rules. Like maybe like real basic language.
Yeah.
Totally.
Well, and I think the letter also said that you could be eligible to get help to redo things, you know, it talks about the benefit.
Yeah.
It doesn't talk about the tax benefit, but that speaks to people.
If there's money involved,
Yeah.
they're gonna, they figured out the short-term rental thing,
Yeah, it,
and that's far more complicated, so
Yeah.
this is just. Doesn't have a benefit
it's
to
also-
them, so we have to
you
hold
need
their.
someone to do it for
That's
you,
right.
farm
And I
it
think
out.
that's so silly, but fine.
And we talked about this for some years, I've been on door hangers,
Mm-hmm.
expos.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, but these are the kinds of projects that aren't sexy, but getting things like the letters out and the letters right. It's in my mind higher priority. The youths are really important but it's lower on the list and.
It is in our priority list. It is one of our goals.
Yeah, it's,
We don't know how it got.
at least it's somewhere, because this wasn't happening 7 years ago. I mean, that was.
Exactly, yeah, that's
Yeah,
awesome. Kate.
that's how I feel.
Well, at least we got the letter. Sounds really
Yeah,
cool.
just like, hey, Caitlin, like,
Yeah,
first
that's
one's
a big
a
deal.
Because.
Absolutely.
Because even if that's the only experience I ever had with historic preservation was getting that
They
letter.
heard something.
Yeah, and if they're getting it once a year, I mean, that could really actually help with our education efforts.
Yeah.
For what we can and can't do and what they need to do.
And when they go to Sal,
Yeah,
they know they can't play the game of like, I didn't know, because they've gotten. Right.
I mean, if it's something you send out at the beginning of every year, I would be happy to come help you build a mail merge.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, truly.
But yeah, you can.
Non-brain injury.
That's when I start like cussing it.
But it's hard.
If you're not
It's
good.
so hard. It's really, really hard.
It's not for you, but for, if you don't do it.
Right.
I know I don't really know skills. I've just been on the receiving end as a parent, and I'm like,
Really
whatever
helpful.
you got going on, I actually know about those things, because you got to me somehow. I know.
Okay, what else, Caitlin? Okay, we're gonna really cover that. Move on, so I think this is gonna start tapping into some of what Marianne was saying. Goal 2, prioritize continued use of eligible resources, AKA don't demolish them. And support their listing as historic resources and historic landmarks on Steamboat Springs Register of Historic. I'm like, that should say local landmark.
So
Typo.
since we just dealt with a really sad demolition thing tonight, I thought it was sad, but anyway, is there any way we could work at helping people that said, okay, you can go ahead and demolish it, but some sort of, how do you find someone who wants to move it, or can you salvage any of the supplies so they don't all hit the landfill? I mean, those are, maybe that's way bigger than us, but
No, I
it's
don't
just
think
so sad.
I don't think it's bigger than us at all, but I think that. Like merging that suggestion, Julie, with kind of what. Marianne was saying. Like, we don't want to always just be like, okay, well, we have a solution after you demolish it. We wanna attack the problem before. And so this is the list of what we had come up with before to where. Maybe we don't have to get to that. However, I do have an idea. And we'll get to it as we go through this. On how maybe we could utilize STR funds.
Oh.
To help pay for the moving
Oh,
and
wow.
relocation
Yeah.
of historic structures.
Love this idea.
Short-term rental, we tax short-term rentals an additional 9%.
And we're still
So
willing to spend
hold
it.
on to that
Okay.
thought.
Yes.
Explore and implement zoning incentives. That could encourage the reuse of eligible resources. I think this is a pretty easy one. And I have commitment from our code team, development review planners. To make some code changes and to start policy changes this year. They've like said the middle of February and I'm like, whoa.
Next week?
Now. No thanks, no thanks, we can hold off on that. But, so this might look like establishing like by right incentives. So rather than, so you know how we bring projects here before they go to like the Board of Adjustment for residential structures? And we're like, oh, you wanna build beyond your setback. Or whatever it may be. We just allow people to do it and we don't make them go through a variance process if it's an eligible resource and we know that they're gonna save it. And I think that that could be a pretty easy, simple code change that we already have support from council for because they approved this document. And so I would like, it's my proposal that we move forward with any low hanging code or policy changes this year.
That's literally one of my suggestions, fast tracking permitting.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about that?
Sure.
One thing that just, can we talk about, one of the rambunctious neighborhood situations we got ourselves in, or that was brought before us, had, neighbors accusing the people who owned a historic property of utilizing the Historic Preservation Commission to go property line to property line and break all the rules. And all the neighborhoods all around them were like, this absolutely negatively impacts all of our properties. And if they had to go through the proper, steps, they might not get it, but they're using the system and they're using the historic preservation and they don't really care about this. And then they've destroyed the neighborhood and they're probably just gonna sell because they're developers anyway. And that was,
And everybody around them hates them.
everyone around them hates them. And
So Fairview.
Yeah.
yeah,
I know, so you're talking about Fairview, I was thinking of 220 Hill Street.
I was
It's
too.
like,
Oh,
list
yeah.
goes on.
but yeah, the list goes on, and there's an idea, there's a storyline out there.
Yeah.
That there's a nefarious, the HPC and the historic preservation
It's like a loophole.
is a loophole.
Yeah.
And that once people figure out this loophole, they're gonna use it to get
But
around
it's
all the
funny
penalties.
how that's like kind of in our favor.
Yeah.
So that's
I know.
exactly, Marianne. So I
Yes.
spoke with Rebecca about this, and I think that this is gonna be more of one of those like educational factors. I think more so with our decision makers first. Because there's a smaller group of you all decision makers, HPC, Planning Commission, Board of Adjustment, Council. But that came up with 220 Hill Street as well. And we had a council member not vote in favor of that project. At the time, was she still president? No, it was her first non-president, Gail.
I don't know, I didn't see it. Oh, I did see it, yeah.
And she didn't vote in favor of it because once again, she felt. And it was a little twisted, right? Like, well, private property rights should be honored and I don't want to use historic preservation as a means to circumvent other property rights in our zoning code. And so Tom and Rebecca and I have spoken and like, it is kind of the chicken and egg. Like, yeah, we are providing incentives because they are benefiting our community and our code because they are keeping something that's historically or architecturally important and we want that. So
and
we are
sometimes-
gonna give them incentives.
To solve your the point of what both of those situations was implying, maybe there are limits to the fast track, right? Like if what the historic home is needing to do doesn't exceed certain boundaries, whatever that might be, what if it's an elevation gain or a
Percentage
line
of something.
Or if, even if it's like, what if, we say that it doesn't happen, but if you have, 2 or more neighbors do a written complaint, then you go before the hearing. So if you're gonna
Say
give the
the one neighbor,
variance
I mean,
and it goes, and no one around you is bothered and this isn't impacting anybody's views or snow storage or sun hitting their property or whatever, all these problems we've heard. But if it's a situation where you're not getting anything negative, then that goes through. But if there is what are you thinking? That's
Are neighbors mad about windows? I was gonna say, I'm gonna
With
be rogue
roads,
and
yeah.
I'm gonna rogue and say, There's so little Stockton Fair historic preservation.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the number of cases that we've dealt with this is two, three. Let us have a loophole.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Give it to like.
but not only that, but, and I'm gonna give some background for Jane here, but real, so I don't forget, I'm gonna respond to what Sally just said.
Yeah.
The reason why I'm not sure I would wanna put, and of course, I'm gonna defer to Rebecca, who's our code and zoning expert when this goes into play. But if we left it in terms of like, we don't receive a complaint or public comment like, during the public notice period. If there was public notice required. That's factor number one, because if it's just by right, I don't know if we're. Unless something else triggers public notice, how would they know? But number two, you get neighbors like with Manitou. So for Manitou. The reason why they had to do a major adjustment was because. The house. Was because the garage. Wasn't. Built to code when it was built in 2006. And no one could align.
Well, the configuration.
And the configuration of the lot is built to code.
A lot of codes.
Like basically,
Like
what should live in a shed and that's the only way they're all gonna be
I
happy.
wanna give her just a real quick,
Okay.
bring Jane up to speed really quickly.
Everywhere.
So the garage sat 4 inches over the setback. 4 inches. And so it triggered an entire major adjustment process because they wanted to build on top of the garage. So they needed a variance to go up. Well, when they built on top of the garage, it blocked the neighbors' views from their bedroom
And sun exposure.
and sun exposure. And so
There was no.
and then,
Just no
so here's another thing, and then most of the other neighbors came out and said. Well, now, so they built an ADU on top, a separate living unit, and they had to have stairs that went up to it. Just based on how their garage was configured, they couldn't lose space in their garage to build an internal staircase.
They couldn't put
Lose
the space
space.
because they needed to have the view, the ski mountain.
But here I am going to
Yeah,
say.
but I'm just saying. the
Like,
neither-
it was allowable, it was.
I just want to say the whole point out here. But then all of the, but keep in mind, Sally, the neighbors that were complaining maxed out their FAR and lot coverage. On their lot, so they got everything they needed, and then they're gonna complain
But I'm
about
just
the neighbors,
saying,
like,
we gotta be a
you
little
know,
careful
come on.
who means what.
I think, so. Then the rest of the neighbors got mad because where the exterior staircase was placed, which was on that property, not on the neighbor's property, was where they had been storing snow for apparently 25
And it was in the
years.
setback, it was
It was
there
in the setback, but it was still
by
on,
like 7 feet.
But it was
with a
still-
10-foot setback.
On their property.
but it was still on their property. And so their reason for not being able to store snow on someone else's property, in my mind, or sunlight blocking their view would not be a reason to bypass a by right thing.
Yeah,
Because that's not
7
something that we
feet.
control by code
I know, but
anyway.
but 7 feet into a 10-foot property so that you can have a large
Yeah.
stair. There's a way to do that design to not do what they, it's just, it gets
This
complicated.
is like an international treaty that could never resolve. This was why.
Well, okay, yeah,
I'm gonna step in.
Yeah.
That's it. That's just like a little precursor there.
We've had a lot of projects.
So I think that's why I would agree with Mary Ann on that one in terms of like, let us have a, and I don't think we should refer to it as a loophole.
No, I know.
It's an incentive.
Yeah.
benefit.
Two, I would say two, designating. Not just being eligible, they don't get to use the
It's the full
fast track.
designation.
Yeah,
It's after you designate,
which is what they did.
then you can use, well, not all of them, Hilltop did, or Hill Street.
I disagree with that approach.
Don't let
because
them designate, don't make them designate.
No, I don't think designation should be contingent on being able to provide this, because one, people are afraid of designation, right?
Yeah.
Two, if we can work with them through this process, which allows them to alter their structure, and they're like, oh, wow, you're gonna let me do this? Then it's gonna be so much easier to say, well, now why wouldn't you put your property on the register?
Yeah.
Or else I
So
feel like
we
we're
can talk
limited.
about further incentivizing
Designation.
full designation, but we should start low hanging code changes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Start
we'll add
conservation.
low hanging code changes.
Yeah,
Right.
and we're really nice.
And then I still think that we should work to, is that one of them on there? De-incentivize demolitions through mandatory fees. You have to pay if you're gonna demolish your building.
That's,
That's
there's
not
a
gonna
whole
happen.
other goal about.
That's not gonna-
Oh, yes, I remember.
Um,
God, I need more soda right now.
do you want
Can
me
we
to get
have a
one?
break and get more sodas?
Yeah, we would like to take a break.
Are we allowed to say this?
Tara, you may need to.
I don't think we've done that more than a couple times. Suddenly I'm like, I need hybrid corn. So
I don't make these goals as complicated. We need to just move through it and
Really?
then next week,
Agreed.
next month, we can finalize our choices. But yes, if you guys need a break.
Let's take a break. I do think it's good we're revisiting this, but then like, what did we put in it?
5 minutes.
I literally never been so. I'd say the last, okay, like.
Why do you look at a funny face?
No, I. Now we're gonna take breaks.
I know.
We don't really have a dis. Culture.
So, that costs, you know.
There's logic for you.
Okay, we're back.
Did ourselves.
Oh, were we mute?
All right, I did, but I don't know. To Katie's point, let's just kind of go through these and then in March, we can really formalize which ones are the most important to us. Also as a reminder, like this is why it's important with our commission right here as a whole. We have 2 members not returning after March. That's Marianne and Sally. And so similar to council, it's nice to,
I'm up in the air. I have to get approved.
well, I'm gonna recommend you don't. No, I'm sure.
You're just trouble. It's just a pasture. I'm retiring. Really drastic.
Yeah.
Church things.
And so similar to council, people are like, well, why does council form goals right before you elect a new council? It's like, well, cause they just
Spent all this time.
spent all of this time, so
It's the experience.
I value your time. Okay. Goal 3, leverage historic preservation as an effective tool to address city housing, sustainability and economic development policies and initiatives. Create incentives and dedicated funding sources. I truly don't really feel like this is low hanging fruit, and I feel like we already do a lot of this. Like this is like long-term stuff unless that, you know, there's some billionaire that comes to town.
Yeah.
Or we have some crazy political power. I do think we could pose the idea of waiving building application fees. I think Todd Carr may be supportive of that.
I'm gonna throw something out that's really unlikely. But things, and I know this is out in the county, but things like the Stagecoach project that the Yellowstone people want to do. What? What if all their dedicated employee housing that they're promising is our buildings like the one we just put on tonight? Like, they just are like, here's the site, start carting things over here.
That'd be amazing to
Well,
look at.
there's that, or, okay.
Our historic village.
No,
Timeline for, maybe that could be cool.
Marianne, so I always have the greatest thoughts while I'm walking with my dog at night with my headphones on.
Yep.
I did not spring the work today. So here's my thought, really similar,
Okay.
is so right now in the county, in unincorporated Boulder County. So that's everywhere except for Hayden city limits, Oak Creek city limits. And East Boulder.
Sorry.
Sorry.
I was like, wow, we're talking about Boulder. You said Boulder, yeah. And then you're like, hey, and I'm like, what are you talking about?
Unincorporated Routt
Those
County.
people in Boulder, we love all of our property. It's great.
I know. Right now, you can't have a secondary dwelling unit that's over 800 square feet.
That's right.
And you can't place it, I wanna say, it has to be within, is it 200 feet of the primary building?
I believe pretty close.
I think it's 200 feet of the primary building. That's
That's way further.
no,
Huge,
Has to
it's
be within
huge.
that.
it has to be within.
In other words, you have to really like the person living in the house. It's really
Right.
close to your, okay.
And I'm like, who wants to wake up and see either a family member or neighbor like that close to you? I don't. But
It's okay. We understand why that exists, so we don't have to get into that. We don't want little buildings scattered all over the properties. We're trying to make open spaces.
But they could have more than 800 square
It
feet. Or
no, but here's the thing. I mean, you have 35 acres in most of your residential acreage and unincorporated.
Ranch
You should be able to place a building further than 200 feet and you're not gonna have it scattered all about. But what I'm wondering is like, could we work with the county to, if we're moving an eligible resource, because it's gonna be demolished and it's placed on unincorporated land, can they by right waive the requirement for a minimum of 800 square feet?
Yeah. Suddenly all these like 5,000 square foot sanctuary homes, but like carted off 35 acre ranchettes to probably 1,000 square foot. I got That's great.
Okay,
But stuff like that.
why not?
Yeah.
And it's
like
helped with housing as well,
you.
right?
I would need more information on the idea a little bit. I'm not totally sold on it, but I'd like the creativity.
You're worried your neighbors are gonna start their historic village.
Well, yeah, you know, there's people out there, you just don't know what people are gonna do with that flexibility. And also, what is it gonna look like? It doesn't really then preserve the historic nature, like if we moved the mountain home out into the ranch land. That's
Yeah.
gonna be weird.
But keep in mind, we have a housing crisis. And
I
if
do
we're-
like your STR concept and figuring out a different way, maybe not I don't know. There's some hashing through that idea.
Yeah, and I kind of think about it in terms of like, I would love to start a family one day, not 800 square feet.
Right.
And I can't go buy my own property out, my 35-acre property. You know,
It's worth exploring, getting into it a little bit more.
I thought they were thinking about making it more than 800 now.
they upped it from 600 to 800.
It was 600 and now it's 800. So I think that's what we are referring to, or I hadn't heard them.
I didn't either, but they do have an allocation, if it is a historic structure. It can be up to 2,000 square feet,
For an ADU?
If the-
1,500 or 2,000, but
If the
yeah,
original structure is historic, your secondary unit can be bigger.
no, it's pretty big, and I talked with the county about it, and they would allow it for the moving of a historic resource.
Oh, I see what you're
Oh, I
saying.
see, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so anyway, idea. I think the only thing on this list, in terms of make a suggestion as a starting point this year, is to waive building application fees.
What did those run? They're pretty high, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah. Maybe in 27.
okay.
Nobody seems too hyped on that.
And then there's the idea of implementing neighborhood conservation overlay districts. I feel like we're not gonna move very far with that if we can't just get a residential historic district going first.
Yeah.
Wait,
We should start there.
Yeah.
3.2.
Unless we want to switch over and look at conservation overlays instead of residential districts. But we have to. Well. Steady.
I say we. Hold on.
Okay.
Is this section where we would have, I'm sorry, and I think you just said it, but I was reading and not multitasking very well. Where we wanted to change the rules about, a historic district not being 100%. Not
No.
this section, different section.
Overlay district is different. It's similar to like how we have a short-term rental overlay district. And like an airport overlay district. So the rest of this is really just promoting what we already have. So let's all talk positively about preservation and promote benefits.
I'm glad to hear it's on the letters. I didn't specifically know that, like, that. I mean, maybe I learned that, but that just validated it's actually there. Yay. Go.
Okay. Goal 4, amend the community development code to provide effective tools and processes that enhance historic preservation. The historic preservation program while protecting private property rights and ensuring transparency. Okay, integrate and consolidate historic preservation provisions. So this is some of that code work that is low hanging fruit. So this is talking about right now, everything we do is in section 111 of our CDC, whereas architects, developers, realtors all go to section 4, 3, and 7. And so the more we can integrate our historic preservation regulations and rules, whether they're voluntary or mandatory throughout our code, the better. And existing. Well, and of course, we're not just gonna integrate what we have now, we're gonna update the code language to what we want. The other low hanging fruit and then integrate it. Include archaeological protections. So this is something, maybe this is a 2027 thing. But what I'd love to see is really similar to a waiver of acknowledging lead paint and asbestos. And it happens through the building permit process. So you get a building permit, and if your permit triggers like digging below ground more than 18 inches, you have to sign a waiver signing that you have acknowledged what to look for from an archaeological perspective and the proper process, and that you'll do the process in case you find something of importance, aka bones, right? Pottery, things like that.
That I just anecdotally, has other people heard, I've heard from people that, what's it called, Anchor's Way, or that trail behind the high school? And then there's the hillside and there's the homes above. I don't even know what that neighborhood's called, but. But which street? No.
From the high school?
Behind high
Towards
school.
the Strawberry Park? Not towards Spring Creek.
It's,
The little trail that starts at the church, is that what you're talking?
no, but,
Connects to the middle
But it
school, high
connects-
school, basically.
no.
Butcher knife.
That's what you're
It's called like Sailor's Way or something. It's directly behind the high school.
Oh, yeah, it runs along the river, goes down from basically the football field to the Hot Springs.
Yeah, it runs along.
Runs along the creek. Yeah,
Down
yeah,
Spring
yeah.
Creek, and it's like a.
I just see-
hillside.
It is nice.
Oh,
It's
up there,
right,
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 next to-
houses.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think I have talked to 3 to 5 people in the last few years, and they all find the arrowheads and stuff,
What else?
mute stuff. People showed me things.
So this is why archaeological protections are really important.
They'll say there must be
I mean, nothing to
something
do
there
with
because
nothing,
it's
though.
not
It's
one home.
just a trail.
It's a collection.
The
of
city
them
trail.
there.
Okay.
Yeah,
but
this
this
is
is-
It's the Monopoly houses are on the hill above it.
No,
You know, those.
I mean, far from here.
Because you go into District Falls, houses. No,
No.
no, the
They're
little blue houses in Monopoly.
Yeah, there's some of those that
They
are
don't stick out like they did when they first built them.
Yeah.
They were like.
There, as you're going up Fish Creek Falls, there are the two driveways on the left-hand side before you get to
Before Amethyst.
Amethyst. Between Hot Springs and Amethyst on the left-hand side.
Okay.
but they're, I'm not
There's a
saying
trail
they're
down
finding
in
like
the
one thing.
Okay.
Like there
Nothing's
must be
being
some
down there.
trash.
Huh. Interesting.
Well,
When high school is set up on Springs.
I know, which makes exactly, it makes sense historically.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I'd say,
Not my problem after March, but.
They should know about this.
Right.
Yeah, it's important.
You can consult with me.
so maybe that and the waiver of building fees could be put together since they require working with the building department.
I think 4.1A is really important too. So the integration of policies that, I mean, that spreads the word. People can't plead ignorance if it's in everything they're reading all day long.
Oh, they still.
They can. And they
But you can
will.
point out.
But
that
yeah.
it's
It's a
It's
lot
sad.
harder.
You asked, you expecting me to read that?
Yeah.
Is this, would this be the section two that, when we get on. When we get online, the, City of Steamboat Springs has the integrated map?
Yep, we're getting there.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
It's on
This
there.
section. Okay, got
I
it.
think, actually, that might be the next.
Okay.
Amend the process for designating historic districts. I think that's low hanging fruit that is coupled it with code recommendations. But are you writing some of this, Jane?
She's taking.
Sure.
I think
I read about cheating out.
I think I can.
I was taking
I can
notes
figure this out.
before.
We can throw AI on the meeting
Right.
minutes when we get them back to pull out the juicy bits. If we get really amazing minutes back, that I'll take care of. Pulling some data.
I think. It's.
Okay, so amend the demolition process.
Yes, please.
There's a lot of bullet points in this.
So it's number 2, 90 days minimum.
That's page 85.
Yeah, 30 days.
30 days is not.
I think we should go for 90 days. Because we didn't get pushback from any members of council.
Right.
Or public.
I think we should do some research on what the average is around the state and maybe even shoot higher than 90 days. To be honest, there are a lot of cities in Colorado that go 365 days as their stay. So, I mean, if we're gonna,
Or 120 is pretty common.
I think 90 is a good starting place.
I know, I wouldn't go past
From
90.
30,
It's
Yeah,
already
30 days.
And we've already been at 90, so people are.
While I appreciate research always, the fact the way our climate is, you
Yeah.
could set someone back in 90 days, essentially.
Which is how we got back down to 30.
I know, it's,
oh, have we been up before and we had?
We've been at 90.
yeah.
Oh, how long ago?
2008.
7, 8.
However, to Molly's point, if we're gonna ask, why not ask and see if it gets pushed through? If Rebecca's like, absolutely no way.
Yeah, I still like the idea of like, well, what's the average?
I think
I can figure that
then I would only compare other mountain towns personally.
Yeah.
I can send you this. To send you the CLG spreadsheet, because I have
Not
it.
the most in those, but I don't think we should.
Okay.
I think we're gonna,
Okay.
I think 90.
Me too. I think
I think
People end up settling.
We have a different
I don't think it's
climate.
beneficial, but I think it's not a bad idea to.
Yeah.
Might be nice to know if there's a lot there on the other end and go, but we only want 90.
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
6
Oh,
months
man,
a
you
year.
know, it's average.
Yeah.
That's fake, no?
Yep.
Observation office.
Yeah, we have, I was just telling Molly, I have a list from them that I think it mentions that. Extend the timeline of building permit review for demolition and deconstruction permits. I don't think that's low hanging fruit, but I think asking is low hanging fruit.
Okay.
I think it's utterly ridiculous that demolition permits have a 48 to 72 hour review period for staff.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
Yes.
That it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
What do you want it to?
3 months.
90 days?
Well, yeah, not 2 to 3 days. That's perfect.
I think it should be a month.
Absolutely should be.
And then it also adds on.
And
Right.
yeah,
I know,
and if
so-
we got for 90 days.
Which is why, it's a calculus to this, right? Which is why I think that I would be worried about 90 days. It's not like I want people to tear everything down. But we have to look like we're trying to work with the community.
Well, we are, and
Yeah.
we just went through 2 years of
Yeah.
engaging with
I
them.
mean, the community is yelling at us, like, why do they keep approving all these demolitions?
Yeah.
Like, and
So
so,
half of the community is, yeah,
Whichever half. Which is why I said what I said earlier.
But I'm sorry, like, people, I'm gonna just bring it up, like,
I'm
high
sure
level
that-
here. People who move here from out of town are amazed at how short our planning application and building permit review timelines are. Like, it is unheard of. Like, to be able to get an alteration permit or to be able to get a development plan reviewed in 3 weeks is unheard of.
This is like
It must-
California.
No, I mean, in Boulder, Denver on the Front Range and Aspen, like, you're looking at 6 months.
Yeah.
And so even if we have longer planning applications for historic resources, which we don't, like, that would help the process.
Listen, I agree. I'm all for giving staff the time they need. If that needs to be 90 days, that's fine. But the problem with even going 30 to 90 days or beyond is we're hoping that people will change their mind and you know, unless you actively work with them, but even then,
Well, that's why we're trying to act.
I know, but most likely, like, what that looks like is just punishment.
It's a massive punishment.
Yeah.
Because we can't even, contractors can't even hold their prices for 30 days. Things are going up so quickly that if you throw someone back a full year, and I know that this is a totally,
You're just
you
gonna
know,
make people tear shit down if you piss them off. That's my opinion. I want to save things.
I want to save things too.
And I think there's this fine line here, but
Well, I think it's in my opinion, it's not a punishment, but it's a way to help build knowledge and education around preservation. We can all read. Contractors can read building plans, architects can read building plans, homeowners could read their deed, they could read their closing documents of the sale that they just did. So they can read our timelines online. And they can plan their projects around it.
What we're trying to do is build a foundation for them to make decisions that we support. So right now, if everything is an even playing field and it's equally as opportunistic to tear down the building as it is to build a new, then why not? But if we create a demolition stay, a demolition fee, a sustainability dumping fee, we waive renovation costs and we provide grants and incentives, hopefully they're gonna start looking at things in a different matrix. That's all we're trying to provide.
Yeah, no,
is,
it's-
well, actually, I think I'll just add on to my existing house. But no one's making that decision right now because there's no difference.
and I praise you for your articulate and detailed explanation there. And I hope you're right, that cost benefit analysis matters. I just don't see it that way.
I think I wanna encourage us all to be really positive. Right? I'm not saying you're not, but I
Okay.
mean, I feel like, I'm not saying you're not, but I feel like. Why did we all just sit here and do all of this work for the last 3 years if we're gonna be like, but it won't matter, or like, let's just take the. Easier option because
And
we know
that's
people
your
won't
perspective
do it.
on what I'm saying. I think there's a better way to market the concept of historic preservation, not model it after other places. We don't live in Aspen. People didn't choose Aspen, they chose here. We run things differently here. Our sense of community is not the same. I think there's an argument to be made for cost benefit analysis. I just went through 848 days of legal experiences based primarily on that experience, but I'll just tell you, it does not incentivize people in the way that you think that it will. And from my, that's, I'm
And the
just,
kind of money that's coming.
I'm just the opposite perspective. That doesn't mean I'm right.
Yeah.
It's a gamble. Doesn't matter because we'll see what happens. And I listen, can I back up and say for those of you who are not been here as long? We have all these plans. 7 years ago, nothing. We had nothing. So the fact that we haven't had the privilege, the luxury, the hard work that everyone's done to even debate these documents, I didn't even think we'd get it. So there's my positive statement, like quantum leaps have happened, people, in 3 years. It was like the dinosaur age 7 years ago.
And you're not saying 90-day, you're saying it's an eligible resource.
Yeah.
So if there's something that, you know, everyone
Yeah.
agrees,
Yep,
like
we
what's
just
happening.
heard.
Okay,
Yeah.
right, yeah, that makes sense.
And I think that's also why extending the demolition review timeframe. Would assist in that because. How are you supposed to know like who lived in a house in
Do some
72
research.
hours?
Yeah.
One of my comments from the last month's meeting after watching the video, was. Because I wasn't here, I don't think that you're given enough time to formulate the data that we're making are. Very short-term, different, well, we don't get very much time either to review all of this. So we're making rash decisions based on your limited availability of time to even collect the data. So I don't think any of it is benefiting anybody, like the homeowners, property, us, the town. I think that all of it needs to be we all need to take a deeper breath.
So speaking of that, Jane had a really great recommendation. In me chatting with her last month, I believe, or maybe no, it was 2 months ago, it's your first meeting. She was appalled at the fact that we.
Huge packet.
Well,
2
just,
days before.
and the fact that like, we get. Yeah, can you explain how the timing was laid out at the last commission that you were on? Cause I wanted to work for that.
Okay, well, that was the DRC, so that was a
Different,
neighborhood,
but,
yeah.
A
Yeah.
different agency altogether.
Yeah,
Yeah, they had to have their packet in, I think. A month before we had our meeting. And then we got it. You know, well before the meeting and had all that time to look it over.
like 2 weeks before the meeting.
That would be amazing.
And so what that would require
We
is
had 2 weeks, yeah.
Everything backing up.
everything backing up, like really harsh cutoffs. Which also means extending some people's timelines.
And we had to do harsh cutoffs, but then if it was a little thing like a fence. We could do that just through email. So we had accommodations as well, but to do the whole big thing, we needed the time to look at it. This is insane. When she was explaining to me when she got it, because I was like, I like to print out this. I need that. So what I came to understand was that I just better plan on the weekend before the Monday.
That's what you're doing.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're doing something else.
Yeah.
No.
Hundreds of pages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we should. You should be getting it 2 weeks prior to us, my opinion. And we should be getting it 2 weeks prior to the meeting.
See, I think maybe you're gonna go and shoot for the moon for everything, but if you're gonna push to extend the timeline and all of this process, put it there, but I wouldn't put it towards 90-day demolitions personally.
Well, I mean, I think Rebecca is pushing for the 90-day demolition and we did receive support from council, so I do think that that is going
It's
to
all
be
gonna
on there.
happen, okay?
And so I'm gonna tie in, this next bullet, implement an impact fee and or sustainability fee for demolition and deconstruction. So that's really, it's not an incentive, it's a de-incentive. Along with extending the timelines for reviews, like planning application and like major alteration reviews, development plans, major alterations. I think that that's something that again is a low hanging fruit to ask and start that process by the end of this year.
Caitlin, can we please put something somewhere online, like, I know it seems over the top, but where we really hit everybody in the head with it, that it's gonna be a 90-day demolition, like somewhere
Get a banner
really
link.
obvious, especially for the first few years.
But this is eligible resources only, right? Not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I just think.
Yeah, I think it needs to be like on the building department.
Well, and like for when a real estate agent sells, you know, a property, we already have problems with our real estate agents, whether they're not telling the truth or they are ignorant. They're selling to people who then are doing architectural and structural and civil and geotechnical plans and coming before us and they've got everybody lined up. And I can't help but really feel I know that everybody can read and all of that, but a lot of compassion for the people who are financially gonna take a massive hit because they're not, because this is something that already we have people who screaming out at us. But,
And maybe there's a grandfathering in phase, like within the first, like, homes that weren't purchased within the first last 2 years. Have a 30-day after 2 years of ownership.
I don't know, I think we
I
need
think
to
we need to,
go,
like,
but I just think that
tell
we
everyone.
tell everybody, and
whatever date.
Yeah.
Starting whatever date, and even, I mean,
Yeah.
even if it looks cartoonish or something, that if you hit, like, if you're getting your building permit, you know, if you go on whatever, the integrated map or something, and there's just something that flashes up, like, you know, FYI, if you have a building on, just one sentence,
And you can
In
ask me
rec.
for that
for 90
all
days.
the time. For 3 years, you've been bringing that up, but even for 30 days, just letting people know, because people
Yeah.
just don't know.
Well, and we get so yelled at,
Yeah.
people are so angry, and we're
Yeah.
costing, you know, we're not costing people money, it's costing people money, because they're ignorant about the situation, so,
Yeah. I can put a note on.
yeah, so that
Tying
we
it
all
to
are
the
on the same
extended
team.
stay.
Like, I feel like that's something that I feel like it's a little bit lost, is that we're all on the same team. They're buying these expensive houses and putting money into this town because they love it. And we're trying to preserve it because we love it. So the more that we can do upfront to like all be on the same team, and I think that's, if we could do that, even though it seems silly.
What does the city have in the way of outreach?
You'll have to review plan. We don't have time for that for that.
I mean, just in general.
Not much.
Not too much. We can chat offline. It just because that's like
It's
a
fair
whole
bones, but,
long conversation.
lack of is the result of our education outreach strategy.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
Lots of area for growth there.
yeah.
Yeah.
I will say we've,
Is that positive?
we have. Yes. We're doing this negative. I just mean like, we talk a lot about like, oh, the downfalls and the pitfalls. And I want to make sure that like, while we discuss this and it's on record, that like, as we are out there doing outreach with the public, that we're uplifting preservation, right?
Hence goal 5.
Yes, hence goal 5. We do, I'll get to chiming in on outreach when we get to goal 5.
Okay.
I don't know about you asked a question, what about the impact fee for sustainability fee?
I think that because we have momentum right now, it would be good to start the process of bringing that up in front of our boards and commissions and council by the end of next year. I've heard from Rebecca that planning commission wants to be much more involved in policy changes and code changes. And so I have recommended that all of these policy and code changes go to the planning commission work sessions. They have policy work sessions. Just so they're in the know, because they really are like the board that governs over the rest of our CDC.
You know, I never realized that.
We just get sexual.
I was like, note to self, don't ever join the planning commission.
Okay. Include integrity criteria. I think that's low hanging fruit in terms of code change. So it's just basically adding the 7 aspects of integrity to the code in terms of how we evaluate eligibility.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean, when I don't know, Katie's email said we're supposed to come with a couple goals, and one of mine was more education with the community, and that would help, I think. I mean, it's more about what I was intending was more about what can we and can't we do? Like when we say, okay, yes, you're approved to demolish it. No, we're not actually approving the demolition of a historic resource. That's it's very backwards language.
Despite what we're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really hard to say.
You know, so that would go into the education of the community.
Yeah, so I think we're.
Wait, but really quickly, would you like to just change the code? So it says
Denies.
HCC denies.
Yes.
And the permit will be issued, and we don't even use the word approved.
Yes.
Yes. So much
HCC
better.
denies.
Yes.
And then historic
And
Carroll
then-
County can stop making us
I know.
victims of like.
And even if
Each
we
written.
say, even if the code and the motion is like worded the exact same, and it's like, the city of Steamboat Springs values private property rights. Therefore, no demolition shall occur until it goes before a public hearing and is reviewed by the Historic Preservation Commission. any demolition denied by the commission, the permit shall only be issued 90 days after, or
You
something.
just say demolition denied until 90 days.
Yeah, because if we've already determined it's an eligible resource, like no one's gonna.
So hard.
That's good.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, for demolition.
I just want to second and highlight what Molly said. I really like goal strategy 4.1.f that because earlier I talked about transparency and I'm not suggesting that we try to be a covert group, but it kind of has that outcome. So anything we can do to spell it out simplistically so that it looks like we base it on something understandable to the people who are experiencing it.
Yes,
Yes.
we're not trying to save the tugboat because we thought it was a lot of fun one time.
Yes.
There are other reasons.
Well, and then
Like,
yeah, and then as how it's put out on, like you said, go take a look at that Facebook page. And I was like, what Facebook page? And ever
It's
since
harsh.
I've been like, really? Why are we the punching bag? How
Yeah.
does that make sense?
we're the historic demolition commission.
So I
Is that-
think,
is there something out there?
Oh, yeah.
no. So
Yes, there
I
is.
think,
Go look it up yourself.
Okay.
I think that, but I think my point being, when people can use certain language, like we've approved it. You know, that is, it's completely confusing.
Well, and it's taking a ton of time for us to get the language correct.
Like every meeting, we're like, okay, but like it means this.
That's so ridiculous.
Like you should just be able to say the permit is denied.
We
right?
mean what we said, thank you.
We don't want you to demolish an eligible resource, so
Yeah.
You're.
however, the biggest penalty we can impose is your 30-day in this moment, 30-day stay.
Yep, I think that's low hanging fruit.
Yes,
For sure.
so that should be,
Good point, Molly.
Yay, Molly.
thank you.
Like, that's like literally a 5-word code change.
We've just been
That
blaming our
actually
code
makes
on
sense.
it.
Yeah,
and
not
doing
blaming
anything about it.
So we already talked about implement by right allowances. I also think amend the definition of eligible resource is a low hanging code change. So we discussed, and this came up with the fact that we couldn't review the SBNY building. I think that there are ways that they could have it's beautiful, right? But I think that there are ways they could have handled the facade in a manner that was more sensitive to the historic nature of the building, and less sterile.
It could have been worse, but yes.
Yeah, it also could have been worse. And so we did discuss,
So commercial Old Town, that is broader than the national.
See, like, no, I think that's a confusing term.
Yeah.
it
Well,
is.
okay.
Well, commercial Old Town is a zone district, so we can't change that. But maybe what we should be saying is within, I forget, but whatever zone districts fall within commercial Old Town and then Yampa and Oak Street.
Right, because some of those are like transitional into, it's like
There's
commercial slash.
CKY,
stuff.
Yampa. I don't think we have anything really left from Yampa, but. There's one, there's that one.
There is
one
one present.
I was like,
Yes.
you think there is? And they're like, oh my God, we forgot about that one.
The house.
I know.
There's the house, and
On
then
11.
also, I wanted to chat about, I wanna do designate backdoor, what is it called? Backdoor sports?
Or Charles Place. Or back to, oh, the
Backdoor
cabinet?
burgers?
Yeah, backdoor splits.
Backdoor
Yeah,
sports.
and-
It's built in
Oh,
76,
Oh, wow.
Dude,
Yeah.
it's so.
and it's like your,
iconic.
it's your like standard like false storefront facade.
Right.
Yeah, and I think we could like honor it for the person
It's
as well.
outside too. I mean, I know
Yeah.
that's not nice, but it's
It's a trick.
it is. It's kind of like a relic.
Is
And
it?
then there's two businesses in that tiny space.
Yes.
Oh, you're looking for the business in the back.
Right.
Okay.
So
So funny.
Okay, I wanna put on pause the conversation. I think this is like a whole nother like work session topic for us. Concept of like a certificate of no effect list or a, what do they call it in other places?
She went backwards.
41H, okay.
41H.
Thank you.
Basically, I would like to, in most communities, after, like, the HBC will issue a certificate of no adverse effect. Basically, after a property goes through review, I kind of feel like it's really duplicative and it creates additional staff time. And why do we need a certificate that says you guys approved something if we put it all into our permitting system?
So you're saying 41H already kind of exists?
Kind of, it's just we
Process.
do it different. What we don't have is a really finite process for at what level can staff administratively review things?
Mm.
I mean, I already administratively review some things, but
Hallelujah.
What's your boundary?
but we don't, what's the boundary?
At this point, whatever you can handle is far as I'm concerned.
You know,
Well, it should
Like,
probably be spelled out.
I think it needs to be spelled out.
Because if you're not here,
Yeah,
and you have a staff turnover, then no one will know what to do.
and I feel, okay, do you guys remember the little house on 8th Street, right across from the school? They did, it's a little blue house, they did a lovely job, they just built a front porch.
Yeah.
I feel like I could have administratively approved that.
Did we?
Yeah, it went to HVC.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I'm thinking more like
Windows, roofs,
percentile, yeah,
red fence,
Yes.
yes.
okay, I think
Yeah.
we should,
Accessory things, but if they're dealing
Yeah.
with structural changes, major additions, roof.
yeah, like roof pitch.
Yeah, roof material. Then
Right.
I think more opinions.
Okay. Then I think that we should document it. I think we should document it.
Yeah.
In our code, in our definitions, and in like the powers and duties section of HPC.
Can we do that in 27?
I mean, if we're doing a code change, we might as well just,
Seems like, okay.
You think it needs to go in the code? Not just.
I know, I'm surprised by
You
that.
said power. Roles.
It's kind of like
no,
an amendment to the Constitution versus just some legislation.
I feel like
Maybe yes, for us.
Rebecca will know.
okay, we'll just note it.
Yeah.
We'll ask AI to summarize. Right, foster a community-wide sense of stewardship. Through prioritizing public involvement, preservation activities, and leaving historic preservation into existing community and partner-led events. So Jane, in terms of outreach, they didn't have a city staff person in my role for 17 years. Prior to that, my role was shared between Historic Rock County, our nonprofit advocacy group, and the city. And when they didn't have a preservation planner, they did contract out doing permit reviews to a wonderful architect and designer, Erica Hewitt. So in terms of like staff level, that's what staff level has looked like. And so there has not been much time for staff to do a ton of outreach, right? And particularly if you have no staff.
Our staff needs staff now.
Right, and so then,
But it was always speaking to the choir, mostly,
yeah,
is the thing. But
Things on the book.
but I wanna
right?
just
Right.
summarize Jane's question
Yeah,
for
yeah,
her real
for
quick.
sure. I mean, this is the exciting part. I'll just say, thank God we finally have some nuts and bolts that we're even able to review right now. Because we didn't have that. I mean, imagine going through HPCD every month and there's no Caitlin.
They get.
There's no
There's
motions written
Yeah.
for you, there's no, right?
You have to go
We
do your
had
own.
that.
No, Erica wasn't pre-writing motions for us.
She did your research for you though.
Okay, but back in terms of what outreach has looked like in the
Anyway.
past.
Different.
The preservation, Jane started much later here in Steamboat. And it was very much like grassroots driven. And so we have had a small group of community members. Hey, chit chatters. Come on.
But we.
So I can't
We
concentrate
settled
on my
it,
own
we got it
thoughts.
now.
Okay.
We have had a small group of community members really like leading the stride of preservation since the late 70s and early 80s. And then with that, I would say most of our outreach and education efforts have fallen on our nonprofit partners. So we have the Trot of Pioneers History Museum. It does a ton of education and outreach about history, right? And oftentimes they're looked at as, well, what about my historic house? What do I do with that? And then you have Historic Rep County.
Main Street Steamboat.
And then you also have Main Street Steamboat, and they focus more on, of course, Main Street. But preservation is a political swing everywhere, not just here. And so it's important to get good publicity and positive outreach. So we are trying, which is why we have a planning document that we need to dust off the shelves from last year. Develop streamlined guidance materials. We have some printed materials that were created as part of the preservation plan. I think low hanging fruit would be to get those on our website and distribute those to partners. In terms of what's the process. Like I don't think we can do it all in 1 year, right?
It just hasn't even made sense until more recently as we've actually had more of a clear streamlined process. It's just been in flux or not really well codified. So there's a reason why we haven't had something to distribute, really. But that's shifting now.
That hard to get this wrong.
That's online.
No, I mean, the simplified.
No.
Stuff.
But I think it's getting it in the hands of our partners also.
Just because it's online doesn't mean people are reading it.
No, and I'll just
But
I'll just say, Caitlin, like someplace like Main Street, if you were to do that, I would say show up at a board meeting with that and do a high level. Here's what I'm handing you, but I'm going to say it to you, not every detail. Like I think.
Yep.
Just
Yeah. No, I think that's a good idea. I actually did, yeah. Yep. That and I was talking with Bill Latoza about maybe doing a presentation to Historic Rock County. I need to educate their social media. Person. Sally strategy F15 straight from Sally's mouth. Please. For you, Jane, it's page 19. Cause she's actually.
We can move your thing. Can't say it.
Oh, sorry. Perfect. For you, it's 99. Marianne.
Actually, I now I'm on 90, like.
Yeah, I'm not following online. I'm looking at your.
The city should integrate, so basically this is updating our GIS database, so that. Would first start with updating the assessor record, because our GIS, our interactive map, pulls everything from the assessor record. And it would just be adding a line that says historic Fall City. That's it.
Cause I went in just
Like,
before this
that's
meeting
it.
to double check and I'm like, yeah, it says built in 1940.
It does.
So, we just have had so many people say, I don't understand.
I think it can be
That's helpful.
confusing also because there's the actual year built and then there's like the estimate year built.
Yes.
Which typically, just so you all know, that year is normally 1972, 1981, or 1985, or 1990.
What?
And it defers back down to when our building code or zoning changed.
So
For
is
that
that accurate
area.
information?
No, they have the year.
We have the year
Oh.
built, but
Oh.
there's 2 years on it.
The other one is called the,
And then it'll say year changed, and that could even just mean they built a rear deck in 2021.
Yeah, a
And then
permit was
people are like,
submitted.
well, I didn't think it was historic, it says 2021, and I'm like, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
come on.
You can see.
It's plastic.
You can smell the antiques, you know?
So is there grant money to do this? That we could utilize?
I don't think we need grant money for this. I think,
It's way harder than a mail merge.
it sure is. Well, I think it's actually a lot easier, and I chatted with our GIS guy, and he was like, that's pretty simple, just you need to let me know when to talk to the county GIS guy about it. They already have the year built. All they have to do is implement a little code in like their pivot tables that feed into their system that say historic.
Okay. In red or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it should
Yeah,
be-
flashing. She wasn't flashing.
What information do your eyes go to first?
Well, I think even if it has its own line. Because it says, you know, there's so many things like year build, but maybe right underneath year build, it can say, is this 50 years old? Or, you know, is this 50 years old? Yes.
I don't even think that helps people. I think it needs to say historic, contact city, yes.
Okay, but I think it can be, I mean, when I started, I was like, please put it in red at the top in all caps bold. But now I kind of feel like as long as it's in there somewhere, if people are looking, it should be just its own line item.
And I think we continue to collaborate with local partners. Hopefully. Pursue a relationship with the Ute tribes and consult. I think we already covered that in terms of recommendations. All right. Do you think we have enough to actually think about these over the next month and come back? I'll present these to Rebecca. I took some notes.
Want?
Well, I think a lot of them can be grouped together, like the code changes.
Yeah.
And then survey work is of course ongoing. And then it seems like we have another group of start planting the seed with the building department.
It doesn't go like that. but-
Right. So I'm gonna categorize that as like county work. Yeah, and so county work. But I think one that needs to happen this year is the GIS map.
Yeah.
As a county, we're taking.
They're talking about this map.
And the incentives for.
Yeah,
And that little pop-up that showed.
That pop-up is like the Bible for, I think, every architect in
And it has
town.
hardly any information on it. What's?
But there's page 2.
Oh, okay.
But it would be nice if it was on page 1, because if you don't know to click the center of the dot,
Yeah.
then you can't go
Right
further.
next to build.
Yeah.
Don't you think? We want them to put those two ideas
Yeah.
together.
Yeah, but yes, on the interactive map, the pop-up with the address, it doesn't even say the year bill.
Oh, you have to know to go.
So it is gonna take.
Yeah, you have to
our
know to
GIS.
play around in there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you guys think maybe it should pop up as just when you click on, when you put the address in and it clicks on it, that assessor thing, maybe it should be in the top of that right away.
Yeah,
This is 50 years old. Yeah, that might be better, because I know to click around in there and.
I mean, if you go to more info, you get a lot of stuff,
Mhm.
but just
Like
right
multiple
here,
pages.
like if you're just, I don't know, and I
Yeah, it should
don't,
probably be on the first page, you're right, yeah.
I don't know, like what home buyer, like is, if they're coming to this, if they even know this exists, so it's probably just people who are in the industry.
In order to put together a set of construction documents, you have to have a lot of that information on the cover sheet,
Okay.
which is why I personally,
Mhm.
my head lights on fire when people come up here with a full set of construction docs saying that they don't know. They don't know that the building is 50 years old, because I'm like, whoever put together this set of documents that you
Right.
just charge the client an insane amount of money for, some of these people. Then you should, that is basic math, because it says the year it's built. And it's
Yeah.
right there, and you have to look at it.
Mhm.
So
But it's not
that's,
here on this pop-up though.
No,
It's not this first page or the second page. I had to do more info to see
no,
your build.
yeah, yes,
So I don't know
it
if
feels
you
like,
can get it on the
maybe
first
that,
page.
and so maybe that's also my own
so.
perspective. That's how I use it. I don't know how other people use it.
But to your point, maybe it should be on this.
Yeah, it should be where everybody has to go in order to do their cover sheet for their construction documents. It should pop up as soon as you
So
go
I
to the interactive.
Yeah.
map, it should pop up.
The first thing, since that map pulls from our assessor data, We already have the year built on assessor data. So I can talk to our city guy, and I think that's a good first test to just add year there. Because he won't be able to add year and it's historic without. No,
But yeah,
first
you're
add year.
Or that's a good
Yeah.
point, just, yeah, to have it
Mhm.
on that.
Just
very
as a
first
starting point.
Page that.
Okay, I think we have a good starting point. Thank you for listening to my staff report of goals and Katie for reminding me.
So I'm a little fuzzy on what would be helpful to you showing up next month. Like, what's my homework?
Yeah, what do you want next month?
We're gonna just make sure, we're gonna finalize what we discussed and we're gonna actually list it out.
I can try and read it now, but maybe it will make more sense to us if we organize it better and then have it ready for March.
How long does it take for the meeting minutes to get posted online? Like words? Normally, when,
Usually the same time the packet comes out.
but we'll get this month's minutes in a month. Basically.
Yeah, but I get the recording.
Watch the recording
I-
sooner. Sort of that.
No. No, you can upload it and.
If it's any way
But
to get
that's
it
okay.
sooner, I think
Okay.
even a draft version that I can then start digging these details out of so that we have a list of what we actually discussed.
I think it's okay.
You think you got it?
Close enough. And if you review
Well, if
that,
you send
you'll
that-
understand what my notes.
You send your list out to us.
Yeah.
I'll take a look.
But is it that
I hope.
we're helping prioritize what you want to put in front of the city council? Or are you saying, are you preparing the priority and then we say that makes sense? Like,
Well, I think we kind of, I mean, we all prepared the priority together when we developed the plan and the goals and recommendations, but this is like a 10-year plan, right? So we're just picking out which one we want to do this year.
We do it specific.
Yes,
thank you.
yep, got it.
What can you?
Yeah,
Okay.
um,
I mean, it was realistically, you
I
both
think-
said we can do more than you think. What does that mean? 3 things? 10 things?
so I think that's why everybody's gonna come back together. So Katie has notes, I have notes.
Okay.
I will ask for
But you should know.
the meeting minutes sooner, because I think that would be helpful because we miss things that we all talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then. Sorry, my mind is starting to drift here. One other thing. Still goals. Yeah, it's important. Oh, in terms of education, we are starting outreach, the planning department is with the Realtor Group, so we partnered with them for an STR. Session, we have a session with them tomorrow over general planning 101, and I would like. The Historic Preservation Commission to urge. Our planning department to do just a specific historic preservation one this year.
Okay, how do we do that?
Just say,
Send an email?
and put it on our list.
To
So it would just be staff, and it would be nice to have. A member or two, well, we can't have more than 2, but 2 members of HPC maybe to help. Just give the presentation to the voters. Even if you're not on HPC, you have former HPC.
That was all my free time. I'll take, I'd love to offer, I would happily take any realtor who wants to take a walk around tour. If that is something, you can
Yeah.
sign people up, I will take them, I will do whatever they want.
And then I know we are winding up. I have one question in terms of the name of the Marshall House. Knowing that the builder, Katie, did her digging, found out is James Crowell. Can we call it the Crowell Marshall House and omit Subtle and Grossbeck? If we go with standard naming conventions of the people who lived there the longest and who the actual builder was.
How often do we mention the builder in our naming convention?
We are supposed to mention them like every time if we know
If
them.
we know it.
If usually,
And it's actually kind of rare that we know the builder a lot of
I
times.
can't think of a time where we.
Because we probably didn't know them.
Don't we know who built the?
Well-
1 hour photo built, I forget the name of that house.
Drake.
Drake also there. Yeah, but that wasn't the builder. Don't even
Right.
builder in there.
It's just speaking in terms of naming conventions.
Yeah, but that's, you're talking National Park Service.
Well, that's what we're supposed to do at the local level.
Here's the thing. Real quick. Remember last time we were trying to decide if we wanted to add the subtle name? And I was like, no.
Right.
So then I went and did my museum job and I was like, gosh, I don't know. How involved is subtle? Should we do this? Then I found new information. Subtle doesn't have anything to do with the home, other than maybe supplying the wood, which is great for an interpretive sign, bad for a name. Grosbecks are involved with the home, but in a very short period, probably as a rental.
Okay.
So that sort of disqualifies both the subtle and the Grosbecks.
Your
So now I've
description,
got a new
I
name.
agree with
That's what happened.
Well,
So could I ask for a new vote on the name? Is that something we need to vote
so
on?
then why don't we just do the Marshall?
No, we can't just do the Marshall, we need to add this bill.
I think it's important. We don't know
I don't know
many,
about.
we don't know many builders of many of our local buildings. And the guy was one of our first, I did additional, maybe this is like another discussion, but I do think we should honor the builder, the carpenter. He was also one of Routt County's first residents. He moved here in 1883. Crowell.
I don't know. He built it for his.
OWE.
Yeah. He helped start the IOF building in Moffett County. Remember Moffett used to be part of Routt?
It was all one.
And then his wife helped start the Rebecca Lodge chapter here.
Yeah.
So he didn't live in it, he built it for his son-in-law, whose last name was Adams.
Okay.
And they lived
That's
in
why.
it.
Ashley.
Yeah, actually, sorry, but there were some darn Adams in there anyway, and Jim Crawford, we don't have to follow him, but he named it the Ashley House.
Huh.
In his work, yeah.
But again, the Ashleys only lived there for about a year.
Yeah, but they're considered the first residents and they
Yeah.
commissioned it built, so they. And then that had all the influence on its structure and design. Or we can just call it the Marshall, I don't really know, I just know we need to vote on getting Grosbeck off.
No, that's fine. I accept
Sounds
your
bad.
research on both of those topics, like,
Yeah.
got it, understood.
I think it's important to name the builder.
I disagree.
But we don't have a lot of information.
My parents
I did
inherited that
additional
chair
information.
and they
On the-
had the antique dealer took it back east to sell it for them. And they opened it up and it had the original horsehair, everything in there. And they could look at the chair and see the tool marks of the builder who made the chair and knew who it was. And that man was well recognized and well thought of. And I think that builders do need to get their credit.
I agree.
In theory, that sounds lovely. I'm just gonna go with what makes sense on the ground with how we actually function in the new world, which we haven't been functioning from a National Park Service standpoint.
We haven't been functioning, doing like anything. Following our code for
Which is
years to begin
very
with.
Steamboat Springs, that's very with the Steamboat Springs zeitgeist for a very long time.
It is my job to have us follow the Secretary of the Interior standards and the National Park Service, and so that's why that's kind of like.
And I'm glad you speak to that so that you perform the function of your job.
How about this for a motion? I motion to take a vote on removing
Well, I don't grow.
Grosbeck from last month's naming.
Yeah.
And hereby then further table the discussion on renaming it until we can get all the information about the builder. Because we don't, all we know, I mean, you've given us all your confidence is that we should do it, but we haven't gotten to read the story and it's not in the final record for what that builder did for Steamboat Springs or why they were important. And normally we have more information before we credit somebody.
Well, I'll just say, as far as I'm concerned, the real de facto historian in this town is Jim Crawford, and if he called it the Ashley House, I'm heavily influenced by it. If there was gonna be an addition to Marshall,
Yeah.
I would go Ashley Marshall. nothing against Cromwell, I'm sorry, I'm just kind of new to me, but the things you rattle off are substantial. Both of you, but
I make a motion to remove the name.
respect, yeah. Basically, based on what you said, I buy it. Everything you said, I get it. Right, there's kind of the internal
gotta
design
fix
versus
it.
design versus
Yeah.
the naming. That adds up.
Yeah. Okay, well then I will tell Rebecca
thanks
to
for
change
sharing.
the staff report that I submitted to her today, because I thought that you guys would have just gone with builder. Cause that's what that
You
was.
talk so good at thinking for ourselves.
Or I won't, because she's probably already submitted it, so just know that. You're getting two names of standard builder. Family that lived there
I
the
mean, let's just be
longest.
real, everyone's just gonna call it the Marshall House and then go,
Everyone's gonna call it the Marshall House.
and then they're gonna say,
The
there's
names
cigars
are
in the
important.
basement.
Remember, like, if you look at how we named the Veterans Center and how they named the post for the
I do think
VFW.
names are important.
You know, those names are important.
And I think having all the information around the names
Is important.
is important, yeah, why we would choose to do it as opposed to just having kind of off the cuff conversation that's not actually on the record in our map.
Well,
So that's,
Yeah.
and then we can fully decide on it next month.
I think actually.
That's-
I think that's a good
Marshall-
decision.
Yes.
Okay,
Did
so
we
right,
vote on
hereby,
it?
we can by voting to remove Kurt's back.
Oh, I think we can, if we're not officially voting on like changing the name to something else,
We
Yeah.
could-
then it currently has no name.
Yeah.
Right, so we will just wait until.
Tabled until further.
We don't need to officially say that the name needs to be on hold. Because you voted on it, it's in the record as having voted
We
on.
voted on tabling.
I mean, that's the thing also is like we're withholding, releasing a
That's
press
not-
release
that's-
about the
that's-
designation.
You left it in the script.
So maybe we should.
My memory was everyone placated me by being like, let's just wait till.
No, we left it as gross,
We
but
left-
Yeah, it was
left out subtle, left it as gross Yeah. like Marshall.
Oh.
because you could have.
And I said, I will.
Okay.
Because you wanted to get more
I stand
information. I just
corrected.
watched it today.
Yeah,
so-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now that you say all that, I'm like.
Because it's easier to add to it later than it is to remove it later. Is the way the minutes were for last month.
Okay. Which I didn't.
I don't think we need to remove it now if we've already put that out there on public record.
You put Grossbeck out there as voted on officially.
Right.
So I think you need to put it
So
officially
when
to
we're-
remove it.
Ready to change it, that's when we would put it.
Well, that's what you were saying at the last meeting was it's really hard to remove a name, so I think you need to do it real fast.
I don't-
There was an error last month's meeting. We hereby need to remove this name and are tabling the official naming till next month. That's my opinion. I mean,
Let's
just based on the information you were providing, that staff provided as far as how hard it is to change a name later, to take names away. That's all I'm basing this on. So if I misunderstood what you said last month, then by all
Well,
means, direct us.
Can I also say, what happened at city council? Did they say anything when they passed the development plan?
No, they're city council, you're the historic preservation.
Okay, I just
Just
don't
with
know
the
how,
name.
how did they refer to?
I gave them a brief explanation of what I did on record, by the way. I gave them a brief explanation that it was named their, you know, I said, I don't know if I said first, like Marshall House, but I said for now, I'm gonna be calling it Marshall House. I gave Katie
But I didn't watch them.
our HBC chair found an information about the builder, James
Okay.
Crowell, and I said typically you name a structure after the builder and. You know, those who are best associated with the residents. And I was like, we'll be revisiting the name at an upcoming meeting.
Okay.
I think my concern is. We asked our communications staff to hold off on a press release for these. Due to one name, and so I think if we're unsure about the name right now. I don't feel good holding off about a press release when there's already. An article in the newspaper about the development plan.
Yeah.
Being approved, and so I think we should move forward at least with a press release. And just explain that HBC is revisiting the name due to new information. And just be like straightforward and transparent.
That's good.
Katie, you're not, you're the only
That's
one
fine.
not shaking your head.
That's fine. I just wasn't sure where you were going.
It's just like,
Yes.
hey, look, let's get a press release out, regardless of the name, I think.
I do it that way. Are you gonna have to have the press release say gross back
Martial House because that's the official name right now.
No, I'll just call it Marshall House. Okay. And I'll just explain it was designated as, but we have received new information. So, okay. About builder.
Okay. As long as you think that covers everything.
Cromwell was new to you too, because I've never,
God, I didn't know.
okay, never come across that. Okay. Just checking.
All right.
That'd be fun research.
You get paid, I know.
I do. One of these, I did say that someday I would make a document that outlines the outstanding historical builders and architects of our town. Someday, maybe I'll get there.
Awesome.
But that would be helpful for us.
Yeah.
Remember when I said I would do that?
Sounds like a part of the project.
We should do that. Should have an intern do that.
Yeah.
All right, are there meeting minutes that need to be part of this meeting? Or in the packet?
Oh, did someone? Let's see who had a chance to, count.
I don't think we had a chance to review it, because if nobody reviewed them, then I guess we'll get people.
Well, and shouldn't they be posted in your?
They were online.
They can later as a, as their own
Separate
Word doc. Probably around. But I don't know what time.
I got a link yesterday, it was in there yesterday, so, but I didn't get the packet till yesterday.
Oh, that's right, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's. Things are fine. So that's why I had it in my packet.
Okay.
In that case, would someone make a motion to table the January 12th, 2026 meeting minutes? Did I just?
I second your motion again.
Thanks. So we'll hold off on January 12th, but there is. After I reviewed them, are those AI generated now?
No.
Does anyone review them before they come to us?
I give them a glance in terms of like the spelling of our names, but like when I get them on a Friday, like, no, I don't review them on a Friday.
Yeah.
Are they-
I was just
are they
wondering,
related
because
to
there's some like silly things in there and I was like,
TOO with a TWO?
yes, that does happen. But like, I don't know. It's fine. I don't want to sit here every month and be like, you spelled Blanford wrong. Blanford is spelled wrong. In every instance. So like, but it's Blanton. And that's why I was like, oh, is this AI?
That's new.
Yeah, that's really different.
So that, and then like. In some of the, well, we'll just talk about it next time.
No, it would be helpful to know.
In some of the Casey's Pond, like. The way the history is captured in the minutes or presented isn't right. And so
What do you,
After
like how
having
I presented
looked
it?
at it again, I'm like, wait, no. So it says that the cabin was moved twice, and it says that Adams like confirms that it was moved twice. No, it was originally built at Sixth and Pine. It never moved from.
Right. That was
Strawberry
a
Park.
clarification on my interpretation of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so I don't think that clarification made it into the minutes. It just says that it was moved twice. So it's moved from Sixth and Pine out to Casey's Pond
That's it.
singularly.
Yeah.
And
So I
I feel
wanted to
like,
make sure that's fixed.
I feel like you all have been really great in like clarifying when I have incorrect information or when I, and it's gotten in there.
Right.
Wouldn't
And
you
well,
say?
maybe I would buy it too fast because then another statement that I remember we looked at each other was you said that Strawberry Park was sort of part of Old Town and we were like, oh, no.
No, it's.
It's
It's
not.
not.
part of Old Town.
Yeah, it's not. That's it. That would have been pretty remote and it was in the county even. So,
Well, it technically is.
It's
Still in the county.
yeah, it's still,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
we should make sure that that's correctly,
Corrected.
like Hans Peak is spelled right.
And
So that's
those
why I
are-
was like, oh,
Okay, that's good.
I don't care if you guys use AI. I should-
No, we still used him.
Which is,
Better. Yay. Is,
you spend more time fixing it than
I rely heavily on it lately, but it didn't.
Marshall
More time.
only has one L on it in the minutes. And then that's all I have to say about that. Oh, and I can provide the correct spelling because they're weird. Of Lucretia and Icabina. Because who would spell that, those words, right?
I mean, they should be correct in my staff report.
They probably. I don't know, it has,
I think Lucretia was from.
something in brackets next to it, which makes me think that that was the phonetic.
No, typically that would be the maiden name of the female.
What's a meeting edit in brackets? I don't remember what it says now. Anyway, it doesn't. Okay. T8, or it's T, I don't know, I was like, I don't know what that means,
Like
but
an
maybe it
abbreviation
means
saying that?
that
Okay.
this is the phonetic sound spelling of the name. Which is fine, because it could be Nina. Or whatever her name is.
That's a good. I will chat with Jesse and see maybe if some of our other meeting minutes are coming back similarly.
No big deal. Okay.
Cause I'd rather not correct simple things.
Right. And then I just wanted to make you all aware. A little last minute. The CPI conference is happening now, basically, Wednesday in Denver. I do think
Wednesday through
there's
Friday.
Wednesday through Friday.
I got a first free ticket
Oh,
yesterday.
I do think, I'll look into it. I do think there's a virtual option,
Yeah,
but
it's like still like
pretty
3:30, it's still like
expensive.
7:30 for the virtual. No, it's like 300, cause I got offered like a $500 ticket.
yeah. So it's called Saving Places, and it's basically a historic preservation statewide conference with different work sessions and teaching and keynote opportunities.
And I'll say Larry Lucas is doing, his session's not booked out, but he's doing like going the transition from wood to brick construction.
Oh, interesting.
Cause he called me to talk about it. But I think, yeah, there's some interesting sessions, but it's in Denver, the Dollar Tree.
I'm sorry, I probably should have made everybody aware that the conference was this week.
I only realized it today.
Yes, I'm actually speaking at
Oh,
a session on Friday.
And then
Yes,
I guess
It's a speaking week.
Speaking week.
This,
What are you speaking on?
our CLG, so just preservation and general opportunities issues, so there's 4 of us and 2 rural communities and then 2 urban.
That's great.
Are you
So
gonna
it's
attend
Fort
the whole-
Collins, Elizabeth, Colorado, us, and then I forget the other people. Yeah, I'm actually gonna go down there.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
For the whole time.
Nice.
I would have only gone 2 nights, but my session doesn't end until like 4:45 on
Oh.
Friday, and I'm not driving back.
I saw
that late.
On a Friday.
Yeah. Nope. The virtual cost to attend the conference, I think, is $190.
Cause I thought it.
Is there any way we can do some sort of grant research on, because this has come up every year about us getting money for us to attend, even virtually? like-
Yeah, in the past.
We have in the past, except for this year, like literally like 2 days after she sent the email out, like all the grant money was gone.
It's
If there's
super-
anybody who thinks that they would attend virtual sessions this year, I can chat with Rebecca and look at our budget and see if there's money in the budget.
And have you looked at the agenda enough to know which sessions might benefit this commission the most?
There's.
I did look at them.
I looked at them all.
For the whole thing, or can you pick things, like, is there a price
You
for?
can't
by
all
the
the
day?
cart.
No,
Oh,
you just buy
But
all
not
part.
by the day, it's just the whole session.
Yeah.
Sometimes they offer
Exactly.
a day. fee,
No,
But I'm thinking like we could buy one registration ticket and like maybe you guys can split up which
You
ones
know,
you're going to.
If you were closer than I remember, so virtual only is $220.
And I'm sorry, what days is it?
Oh, first time.
Wednesday,
Wednesday, Thursday,
like
Friday,
the
3
11th.
days?
It's
Yeah.
the 11th through the 13th.
I mean, depending on if there's some session, like if you saw some stuff that you. If it's
Yeah,
already
the
attended,
other-
you looked at the agenda and could easily send us like Wednesday at 2 and Friday at 7.
Yeah.
Or not 7, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's.
Well, I don't see if I can share anything, or sometimes they give you, in buy it, they give you access to the recording. I'll see. If, okay, they usually put a code.
I still have to, I'm so mad, I just wanted to pay to attend the conference, but you have to select your sessions before you can make those decisions. And I was like, and I was so tired the other day. I was like, I can't do this right now. I just can't.
Yeah.
So I still have to go through every session.
Okay.
And
Which
some
I
of
was
them
gonna
are
do
full, which I
tonight.
think is silly.
So crazy.
Like, right,
That was
like, that
those
is
are
really
the
how I feel.
reasons I took turned down the ticket was because the vast majority of the ones I would have attended were full.
So I will,
I
I'm
mean,
happy to screenshot them and I can send them to you, and then I will ask Rebecca if you are interested.
Yeah.
And then I know maybe you might be interested being new, so if there was a virtual log on and maybe.
Yeah, I mean,
Maybe you three and I could share it, and just pick and choose which ones you wanna go to, so.
Are you,
Yes.
you ready to see, watch, are you going?
I haven't decided yet.
Oh, you have. It's gonna be 4 hours. Sure. Yeah.
I probably will, and I can make that.
Yeah.
So it's like
8 o'clock at night.
8 o'clock, I'm so tired.
right now.
I know.
So
I
I
can
can close this down. We don't need to be making meeting minutes of all these side conversations, so it's 8 o'clock. Should we make a motion?
Yes, and we adjourn the meeting, but that.
Third.
Meeting is adjourned.
Yay.
Thank you, ladies, for work on all the things.
For a 14-page